All right, guys, welcome back to Remotely Wasted. This is our week 7 college football episode. We got a lot of things on this episode. We're going to have like our top six, first four in, first two out. Let us know what yours is in the comments, your opinions on that, what you disagree with us. We're going to have our Heisman top five. But if it's your first time joining us, we normally like to start towards the bottom of the top 25, kind of give our opinions on what's going down there and just kind of work our way up. And then we have different categories and stuff that we nominate people like player of the week, game of the week. So let us know what like all of those are for you, and let us know what you agree and disagree with us on. Yeah, we're starting. So the bottom of the top 25 this week, I actually majorly disagree with James Madison
Not being there.
not being in and UCLA being in.
They got stomped by Oregon State.
They did. And Dante Moore, I mean, he's a freshman. He's a really talented player, but he threw 3 interceptions this game. He's really like their defense is pretty good, but they weren't looking very good against Oregon State. And he
Yeah.
just makes a lot of freshman mistakes. James Madison, on the other hand, I have some notes on James Madison. So they have wins against Virginia. Virginia's not good, but that's a Power Five school.
Yeah.
They got wins against Utah State. Utah State played Fresno State really, really close on Friday, I believe. They have a win against South Alabama, who destroyed Oklahoma State, and Oklahoma State's actually, starting to look like a pretty decent team.
Weird.
So I don't know how James Madison's not in and UCLA is. UCLA has 2 losses, but looking at James Madison's
And
schedule, I mean, it's not super impressive, but it's like they got some decent wins.
Marshall, App State, Coastal Carolina. Like Old Dominion, they upset somebody like the first game of they beat.
I feel like that was last year, maybe, or maybe that was this year. Old Dominion, no,
Man, I might be tripping. I might be thinking of somebody else.
no, I feel like Old Dominion beat like Duke or something last year, like to start the season last year,
Yeah, it must be what it is.
from my memory. But I
Yeah,
remember Old
irrelevant.
Dominion like having some respect on their name last year.
Yeah. I mean they could eventually make like a pretty good bowl game if they go undefeated. I mean, I don't think they would make the playoff, but there's no way they'd get in over a one loss like, power team. Like Alabama or something like that. There's no chance. There's no chance they'd get in over any of these schools with one loss. Unfortunately.
Absolutely not. I mean, I'm not too mad really about them not being in the top 25 because if they keep winning, they're gonna get in there. I
Yeah.
just really wish this was the year the 12 team playoffs
Because
started
then
because
they could
there's a
make
lot
it.
of good teams like right in that like
This little
20 to
bubble.
like 15 range that it'd be a really like interesting fight to see who gets in there. Iowa, I don't know if you've heard, but Cade McNamara is out for the season.
That might be good for them. I don't know. He wasn't playing very well.
No, they got Spencer Petras 2.0 behind him.
Jesus
Uh,
Christ.
their quarterback, their backup quarterback, I believe he threw for 37 yards against Wisconsin.
15-6. I mean, they beat him on the road, so like it's impressive. It's very impressive how bad their offense is and how they still keep winning games. Like they're gonna make the Big Ten championship probably. They're on the West, right? Yeah,
Yeah, they're dominating the West.
they're definitely gonna make it. I don't see.
Maybe Illinois knocks them off. Maybe Rutgers.
Rutgers has a pretty solid offense, I think. Nebraska on the road to end the season could be interesting, but like these last 3 games are probably their hardest games. So they're definitely gonna make the Big Ten championships. They're gonna be playing Penn State or Michigan, Ohio State. I don't really see them beating any of those teams. Their offense just can't keep up. They're gonna need like 2 pick sixes and 4 field goals or something to win. It's just not doable.
It just blows my mind how Iowa can't find a good. I mean, McNamara was good enough in my opinion to kind of, he gives you 200
Some
yards game
some
probably
chance.
something close to that. Like he keeps you in there a little bit. And this backup, yeah, he's Spencer Petras 2.0. He's got 37 yards on the game the last game.
We have to keep an eye on him
You better get ready, man. You're gonna be on the worst player of the week.
every week. I think it was like he was in there probably about half the time.
He
More
was
so,
always in consideration at the very
yeah.
least.
Every time I was looking for my guy, I went to him first, and I was like, okay, he didn't have too bad of a game. There's probably somebody worse.
Yeah. Tulane,
They
I don't
beat
have a whole lot on
Memphis.
Tulane. Yeah, they beat Memphis. Um, what my notes say is they're arguably as good as James Madison because they have some better wins on their schedule, and they played Ole Miss reasonably close.
Yeah, I mean 17's not too bad, especially because that Ole Miss offense is supposed to be super good. Um, that's still kind of up in the air at times. I mean, they're good and they're not at the same time. Um,
Their wins are more dominant than
I think that Memphis win's pretty big for them. Memphis is a good team. They're always pretty good. UTSA is probably their next toughest team. UTSA is pretty solid. I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I'm mistaken. They're 3-3. I'm thinking of UTEP,
yeah. Well, I mean
not
UTSA
UTSA.
has had a pretty decent program the past few years.
Yeah.
They're on the up and up, but I mean these smaller teams. Then Air Force
Hey,
they
let's
are
go.
6-0. That was a big win against Wyoming, and that's enough to get them ranked. And they could mess around and end up in a New Year's Six bowl. It'd be so crazy if there's a 12-team playoff if Air Force was there.
Man, I did not think they was gonna beat Wyoming. I picked Wyoming in my parlay, and they let me down. I don't see them beating Colorado State. Their quarterback, what Nicolosi, whatever the fuck
Yeah,
his nuts is. That guy's good. He's like top 10 in like FBS, like passing wise. We'll go over that later on towards the end, but Colorado State, that's a tough game. Army's solid this year, but I don't see them losing to Army, especially at home. And then Boise State on the road at the end of the year. They Army or not Army, Air Force definitely could go undefeated this year, and I'm all for it.
I feel like that Navy game might be pretty tough just because it is a rivalry game. It's at Navy. It's at 11 in the morning. I could see it being little bit of a challenge, but overall, Air Force just they're more built than the other armed forces teams as far as
Yeah,
being
of
able to
recently,
compete with regular schools.
it definitely seems that way. I like it.
Well,
They
they
could
play in
definitely
a
make a
conference. You know, the other
yeah.
the other two are independent
They'll definitely make a big bowl game if they go undefeated. They could do like I don't know what they would end up in.
because they rotate the playoff every year. So I don't know which ones
Yeah,
are which this year.
but they could
But I
definitely
mean,
make like an Orange Bowl or something like that, which would be really cool. I I would definitely watch it.
then we have Louisville. Poor Louisville,
Holy
man.
fuck.
We were both on their nuts last week, and then here
That
they
was
go.
hangover game. They did
I
not
think you
show up.
actually kind of like. I don't know if you called this one, but I know you said something about Pitt probably being kind of a challenge for him.
Yeah,
And
Pitt's
sure
a
enough,
trap team, man, especially on the road. Like, I wouldn't want to play Pitt on the road, especially coming off a big win like that. Like, if this was Florida State, we probably would have had a tough time after a big win on the road. It's it's not an easy game. Then they got Duke this week. That's or no, not that's next
that's
week
next
because
week, and they're on a
we play Duke
bye.
this week.
Yeah.
So Duke could be coming off a loss, which I'm pretty confident of. We've never lost to Duke, so
Do you know anything about Riley Leonard? That's one thing I wasn't. Is he playing? Do
uh,
you know if he's playing or not?
I think it's looking like he's gonna play. So but for this game, he definitely should, as long as he don't like re-hurt himself against us. I don't see why he wouldn't play if he's 85%. Get him out there. They don't really stand a chance to beat us, I don't think, without him. So if they want to win that game and kind of save the season, he'll probably be there. But I'm expecting Duke coming off a loss here. I don't see why Louisville can't beat them at home. That crowd was nuts. And one loss is still a pretty good year for Louisville if they can win out. Like that's really good.
Yeah,
They
one thing I
are
didn't realize was that I did not know the ACC switched
yeah, we're
their
like the Pac-12
format.
now
Yeah, where it's just the top two teams. Because you were telling me like there's a scenario where all three teams could go undefeated,
because we
and
don't play each other this year. Like
then I
none of
was
the
like,
three of
that
us.
makes no sense. And then yeah, sure enough, there's no divisions in the ACC
Yeah.
anymore,
So
so it's a
Louisville's
free for all.
definitely out of the ACC championship as long as North Carolina and Florida State both don't lose. I don't really see either of us losing. So and they got Virginia Tech. That should be a win. Virginia's a blowout. I don't see why they don't beat Miami. Miami's lost the last two games. They've lost to Georgia Tech. They got blown out last week. Kentucky's interesting. They're they're so like iffy. They're good and then they're not. Their quarterback Devin Leary is
He's
fucking
not what he was at
trash.
NC State.
Well, he got injured, so like I'm curious if like maybe his injury is kind of affecting him. I don't remember what happened to him.
Was it a torn ACL? I believe it was against. Was it against you guys or was it against Clemson? It was one of those two games.
I think it was against us. We still lost.
Yeah, because he went down, and I think there's just something going on with his confidence
It seems like
because
it.
he's just missing throws he would normally make. But I mean, Kentucky they got a reasonably solid defense, and they
They
got a
got a
good running back.
yeah, they got a badass running back. So Louisville, they're gonna have a good year. I maybe two more losses. So they could finish with three. I
I
don't.
mean, if they
Duke, Miami,
finish with one
Kentucky are the
loss,
only losses potential. They're not losing to these two teams. There's
yeah,
no way.
if they win out and North Carolina or Florida State drops one and they find a way to get in, they still got a shot at the playoffs. I don't think their season's dead by any means, but
Yeah, no,
it's not
not
looking
at
as
all.
good as it once was. Missouri,
Missouri's
they're on a big
finally ranked.
comeback.
Finally, I feel like Missouri should be ranked a long time ago.
Well, they were, and then they dropped the game to LSU. I think they
LSU.
stayed. I think they stayed ranked after that. Actually,
I think this is their first week as being ranked. They weren't ranked last week, if I'm not mistaken. I feel like they haven't been ranked yet.
I thought they got in. I remember us like, why is Missouri not ranked? And then I think they got ranked, and maybe they got knocked out when LSU beat them. I'm not sure, but I think they were like 25 or 24 at some point this season.
It's possible. I'd have to go back and look. And I guess
But
South Carolina this week. I don't see why they don't win that game. On the road at Georgia, now that Brock Bowers is hurt, I think he's done for the season. He's getting surgery. Uh,
I didn't see the extent of his injury. If he's done like that, that's a real big blow for Georgia. Um,
let's see if there's anything on him.
because this guy he kind of makes their offense.
Oh, 100%.
No timeline on his return, so he's out for at least a few weeks.
It says ankle.
He had tightrope surgery to repair a high ankle sprain, so he had to get a surgery for an ankle sprain. So that has to
Well,
be a really severe sprain.
look at Saquon. He just had a high ankle sprain. He missed what 2 3 games. So
Yeah.
if that's a similar type of injury timeline, like he's missing quite a couple games. They got Florida. Wish I would show their upcoming games down here, but I'm sure we'll get Georgia later.
Yeah, we'll definitely get on to Georgia. There's a lot to say about Georgia after this past
But
weekend.
if he's not playing, I don't see why they couldn't beat Georgia. I mean, Georgia's defense is still good, so Missouri's offense is gonna have to show up, obviously. And Missouri doesn't seem like they have a defense, giving up 49 to LSU. Granted, LSU has a pretty solid offense, but they gave it 21 to Kentucky. Like they're giving up over 20 points almost every game, other than South Dakota. So South Carolina and Georgia and Tennessee, like or actually every game they got left, they got a really tough schedule.
No, that's actually one of the hardest schedules going
That
down the road.
they could lose all of these games,
Because
but
South Carolina, they're so hit or miss.
yeah,
Sometimes they're terrible. Sometimes, they're playing Georgia real close. Spencer Radler, he's a really talented guy. I just don't think he makes the best decisions on the field always. He forces a lot of throws, which puts his team in a bad position. But Arkansas, they played Alabama real close. Tennessee, they're coming off a win against A&M. They got Bama this
yeah,
weekend.
it's gonna be a good game.
Tennessee wins that and they're confident. I don't know if they could beat Tennessee. It'd be a really tough win.
I think like they probably have like a better chance beating South Carolina, Florida, Arkansas. I think these are probably two losses. I'm willing to bet. So I mean they could finish with 3 losses. So that's not bad. They're already bowl eligible, so that's a win. I don't know what they did last year, but
I don't think they're very good at all last year. I think their program's in good hands. They keep getting really good recruits. I think just like I said about Louisville, their season's not dead. If you win out that schedule, you're in the playoffs
oh,
probably
percent.
if you win the SEC.
Yeah, I don't see why they wouldn't make the playoff. I would put them in over a good handful of one-loss teams. I got LSU.
LSU they just destroyed Auburn this weekend,
Yeah,
48-18. Jaden Daniels continues to kind of carry that team. I think he had like 400 all-purpose yards.
that dude's cooking. He's cooking.
I feel bad for him because he's such a talented player,
Yeah.
and it just
After this loss, he's been on a fucking tear. Absolute
really
tear.
they should have won against Ole Miss if their defense could have done anything.
They don't even have a defense. They're just non-existent. I'm surprised they held Auburn to 18. To be fair, uh, I don't know why you wouldn't be able to score at least 20 on this team. Army will probably score 14, 17. So, but there's no way Army wins this game. They'll probably drop. It's gonna be looking like this 72-10 type game. So
Yeah, I think so. Bama might give them some trouble, I think. But I think they could give Bama some trouble because Bama's offense really is not clicking
no,
still.
LSU can definitely win out too because Bama's really the only good team they have left. Army's a guaranteed dub. Florida's a definite dub. Their offense sucks. Defense not there either. Georgia State blowout. A&M is who knows. They're 1 week they're okay, next week they suck. I don't know what they got going on down there. There's something in the
So
water.
I was at a friend's house on a Saturday, and he's an A&M fan, and he was watching the game, and they threw an interception at the end. He was like, "Man, fuck this," and he turned it off. But he was telling me that at the end of last year they had this guy Weigman, and I remembered it once he started telling me. He was like a true freshman last year. He came in and started playing really good, and that's when they beat LSU at the end of the season. Apparently, he got hurt like really early on, or like in training camp. So
Hmm.
they're back with the same quarterbacks they had
From
last
last year.
year.
Yeah. And
So
then
that's
wait, they
that's
had
why A&M's
Henskeen.
struggling.
He left too.
Yeah.
So
So yeah, they're having issues at quarterback. And just like I was asking him, I was like, what's your opinion on Jimbo? And he's like, we need to get rid of him. Like this whole thing's a disaster. He
yep.
he, he was like they panicked and they gave him a bunch of money because I guess one year A&M like finished like rank 6 or something in the final poll. So they're like, let's just give Jimbo all this money. And then there's all that LSU talk about Jimbo going to LSU. So they panicked, gave him a bunch of money, but
You know,
A&M fans want him gone.
I think Jimbo would have done better at LSU. To be fair, I don't know if they would be competing for championships, but I think they would probably have a better defense than they do now.
Yeah, I think if he was at LSU, I think the problem with A&M is A&M pours so much money into that program. There's a lot, I feel like a
There's a
lot
lot
more
of like
pressure.
divas on the team too. There's people getting paid hella money coming in. You got all these 5-star athletes coming in. It's like too much. Like there's no structure. There's no discipline. It seems
I
it's
mean, he
just
had guys smoking weed in the locker room
yeah.
last year.
There's nothing. That's just the way Jimbo rolls too. That's the way he was rolling at Florida State. Like we just got lucky. We had Jameis. Like, that's it. I mean, we had a fucking badass defense, but
One, he really like when he was at Florida State, Jameis was just so talented, but Jameis was
he had his issues too.
he had
Like
his issues, and Jimbo was just kind of letting it
letting it
go.
roll. Yeah, like and we're winning. Fuck it, why not? But yeah, he's just it's like he doesn't care. Like that's the vibe I get from him. He really just doesn't care. He just wants the team to show up when it's time to show up, and they don't because there's no fucking structure, no discipline.
Yeah, I think his days are numbered if they don't get things turned around. Now USC, how
Actually,
the turntables.
we got a couple topics on here. We got this was I have my best performance by a team. I got Notre Dame here. Um, Most disappointing player of the week, Caleb Williams,
Yep, that was mine as well.
and then defensive team performance of the week for Notre Dame. So that this
Mm,
game hit three categories for me personally.
yeah, they hit my defensive team as well.
Like
Um,
you got Notre Dame forcing 5 turnovers, only holding USC to 302. They out yards or got more yards than Notre Dame and got blown out by 28, which is crazy. Way more time of possession. Like they was just scoring quick. And then USC'd get the ball, they'd move it, turn the ball over. Caleb Williams made a lot of bad decisions, trying to, be Superman, rolling out, trying to get a throw, getting pressured, just obviously throwing it to somebody, just sitting there lurking. I don't know if he wasn't seeing, the whole field properly, if he was rattled. It just didn't look like. Also, to be fair, his O line played really really bad, so it's
yeah,
not all on
absolutely.
it's not all on him. He was pressured like the entire game, but this has kind of been a trend. Like you look back the last like 2 weeks for USC, like they've been getting after him. Like at that Arizona game was like kind of like the
Yeah.
beginning, and I think everybody kind of looked at that and was like, okay, we just gotta play really solid coverage in the secondary, and then the front seven's gonna get there. You just put pressure on them.
If you
So,
force him to move out of the pocket, that's the way to beat him. I
yeah.
think. I think they now teams kind of have him figured out a little bit. He's still amazing. I think his problem was he's just used to just throwing up and making these crazy good plays, and they just
Hmm.
were not working. They're backfiring on him.
And Notre Dame has a solid defense. Like, they're not absolutely great. Like they're pretty good, but
It's
they
probably the
had,
first good secondary he's played all year, like
yeah,
truly good secondary.
I would say so. Sam Hartman didn't even really play like crazy good. 126, 2 touchdowns. Like that's they just had short fields like the entire game, it seemed, because they was just turning the ball over on their own part of the field.
Well,
And
Notre
Notre
Dame
Dame,
was special teams. They had that
yeah,
kickoff. They were just on all parts of the game. They were
and
they were beating
Estime
USC.
lose 22 carries.
That dude's a
He's
beast.
big. He's really big. What's he looking like? 227. That's 20 pounds lighter than Derrick Henry.
That dude's a monster. He's
Yeah.
honestly probably he makes their offense really. We made all this, earlier in the season. We're really on Sam Hartman about how great he is. It's really their running game that's really the foundation of that offense.
And then when the running game's not working and it, comes to Sam Hartman to make these, big plays, he's not making them. I mean, this game he really didn't seem to have to kind of carry the team, which
Um,
is where I think he kind of thrives.
yeah, kind of a game manager. And I mean, if he doesn't
He's
have a lot of
good.
pressure
He
on him,
he's
he's
good.
good. This is a good win for his confidence because I know his confidence was getting a little down after those, three
Yeah.
really, really tough games.
Just five
Yeah,
turnovers is interception on the first drive, punt, field goal, turnover on downs, interception, field goal, punt. Finally scored in the second quarter, or that's the third quarter there. Punt, touchdown, turnover on downs, fumble for a touchdown, and then another fumble. Like USC could not have had a worse game. And I'm so glad it finally happened. I'm tired of hearing about USC. I'm tired of hearing about them. We don't need a defense, which was kind of what I was saying. Like, as long as you can outscore them, but like they obviously couldn't outscore them. So
yeah, that's the thing with
finally got up to
USC,
them.
all offense, and it's just so nice, as an Oklahoma fan, kind of
Yeah, I bet.
like we're up here, and like last year it was just like, yeah, Lincoln Riley left and he was carrying you guys, and now they're like way
Psych.
below us. I don't know if you saw some of Lincoln Riley's comments recently about how he was quarterback at Texas Tech, like a backup, when Mike Leach was there, so he learned a lot from Mike Leach, and he had another mentor that passed away, and he was like, I'm trying to retire early, and I want to spend more time with my family, and he was like, I've been looking at the NFL, and college you have to recruit all year round. He's like, the
It's
NFL,
tough.
they get several months off,
Yeah, and
and
all you got to do is
I think he
draft.
might go to the NFL. He's really flirting with it. He might just try to leave with Caleb, go to whatever team Caleb is getting drafted to,
Yeah, that's
or
that's not a
Caleb will
terrible
just, hey,
idea.
hire Lincoln Riley, and you could draft me.
I mean, granted, like I don't think it would be a terrible move by like whatever team, because like all those bottom feeder NFL teams either have like really new head coaches or they got like defensive head coaches. So like if you want to kind of flip the script and kind of rebuild your team, I don't see why you wouldn't maybe kind of entertain the thought. Like you got this like he's a really good offensive coach. I'll give him that. He's a really
He's a
really good.
genius. He's a
He's a really good
genius.
quarterback mentor. Um, he's really good at play calling. So I don't see why you wouldn't, because he's not going to be, running like the defense. So you got a defensive coordinator. They got good defensive coordinators in the NFL, good defensive players. So like, you bring this fucking all-star quarterback and this really good coach and kind of work him into it. Like, yeah, that first year might not be great, but he's obviously got to get his feet wet and get into the moment, get his momentum going. So I don't see why not.
I actually think his play style would actually translate better in the NFL. Just like you
Yeah.
were saying, they do have better coordinators, better players. He doesn't really have to worry about the defense. Like they'll have a coordinator that could take care of all that
Yeah.
for him.
Because if he stays
And
this year, they got
yeah,
to get a new defense coordinator. It has to happen. There's
yeah.
no way. I would
There's
be
no way they
like
survive in the Big Ten like this. There's just
no
absolutely
chance.
no way. And
Uh,
Caleb's leaving most likely.
I think it's like
It's 50 50.
60-40. I think it's like
Yeah.
60-40 right now. Like 60 him going, 40 him staying. I think the NFL, like the bottom teams are kind of shaping themselves out. So yeah, I feel like he kind of has an idea of like where he could potentially end up. It's looking like it might be like the Giants or the Bears.
or the
or the
Patriots.
or the Broncos. Yeah, the Pats. Like one of those four teams. So, and then yeah, I don't think the Bears. I don't think the Bears would go off Justin Fields just yet.
I think Justin Fields is a really good quarterback, and I don't think there's any reason to bail on him.
No, I don't
Granted,
think
Caleb
so.
Williams is, he is, and I agree with people when they say he's the best prospect of all time. He
Yeah.
probably is.
And then if it's like a head coach quarterback pool, like obviously I don't think the Giants are done on Dabble, and then we would probably would get rid of Daniel Jones in a heartbeat. So that would be weird. The Broncos would maybe be the only team because the Pats wouldn't probably let go of Bill Belichick for a rookie head coach. I could see the Broncos maybe moving off Sean Payton and doing the thing. Kind of it's like basically what the Cardinals did with Cliff Kingsbury and Kyler. And it didn't really work out for him, but that's Cliff Kingsbury. I don't even really think he's in the same ballpark as Lincoln Riley and
He's on
skill
he's
as
on Lincoln Riley's staff right now.
yeah.
He's working under
And
him.
I thought he was like a pretty good offensive mind. I don't think he's terrible. Like I just kind of think he wasn't super invested. He really seemed like he was kind of like had his priorities kind of all over the place.
I think he's almost like Lincoln Riley in a way where
He's like a
at Texas Tech he
two
was all offense, but
Yeah, he's like
no
a
defense.
2.0, 3.0 Lincoln Riley. Like if Lincoln Riley's like an A plus, Cliff Kingsbury's like a C plus, maybe a B minus. I don't
Yeah,
know.
good offensive coach, but yeah, what it was a rough performance for USC. We'll see what they do moving forward. I don't know. They're gonna have some tough games remaining on their schedule. They got Washington. They're gonna have to face Oregon. I don't see them not losing.
We got Utah, still no Cam Rising.
They probably win that.
Yeah, I think if Cam Rising's not playing, they win this game because it is at home, so they ain't got to travel. Cal's a blowout, but maybe not a blowout. They might only win by 10. Washington, I don't know. I could see them beat Washington. I really could, but I don't think it's gonna happen. It's if the offense is firing on like 110%, they could win that game.
If it
Like
turns into Michael Penix versus Caleb Williams, and that's
they
the
could
whole
win.
game,
They could win.
Caleb Williams will win.
If it's like whoever doesn't score on one drive, like is the team that loses, it could be USC. Um, Oregon, I don't think so. But I mean, Washington just handled Oregon like pretty good. Granted, Oregon probably could have won the game. They made some bad. Dan Lanning made some bad decisions. So, and then UCLA has a really good defense. If the offense could get going, they could lose that game. So they could lose the last three games of the year. So it's
Yeah,
very possible.
it's really crazy to just like if this is Lincoln Riley's like last year in college and he goes to the NFL, it's just like really crazy to see. Like he went to USC and they're thinking like national championship
Yeah,
right away, and they
like
might
first year.
might not even get a conference championship in his tenure.
Yeah, they're sitting. I mean, they're still first in the Pac-12 somehow. Like,
Notre Dame's not on there and not in their conference, so it didn't affect their conference
yeah, but
standing.
Washington's undefeated.
I don't know how that works. If maybe they played more conference games so far than Washington has. Probably so because
Okay, they
Washington
got
probably already played all their non-conference.
Nevada. Nevada's not Pac-12, are they?
No,
Yes, one, two, three. So they got four Pac-12 wins. One, two. Okay, yeah, Washington's only got three, so I guess that's probably what it is. You're right.
then we got Tennessee. They close win against A&M. They didn't look super impressive, but their defense actually held up really good. I don't know if that's a testament to how good Tennessee's defense is or how bad A&M's offense is at the moment.
I thought A&M was gonna win, to be honest. And they got out to a pretty early lead. I think they were up like 10-0 or something like that. No, okay, maybe not 10-7.
10-7.
I'm smoking crack.
Still, I mean, still
They were up at one point, so just two interceptions by their QB really ain't gonna do it. Everything else is pretty even. So those two interceptions is what did it for them.
I will say this. I'm still not sold on Tennessee. Like I'm gonna have to see them. If they beat Bama, I might be
Man,
more sold on them.
I was so high on Tennessee. Like I was really locking them in as a one of the top four playoff teams.
Hmm.
Uh, it just this isn't it. They probably need another year. I don't. They got what Milton, Joe Milton, is that his name? The
Yeah, that's
quarterback.
his name. Yeah.
Do you know what grade he's in? Is he coming back next year?
Yeah, I believe he is. I think he's like
I
a
think
junior.
I think next year could be promising for them. They just probably need another year to kind of cook in the oven, a little more bacon time.
Yeah, I mean they're still just one of those question mark teams where maybe if they beat Bama and then they have that big game against Georgia at home,
Yeah, if they
that's
could win
that's like
out,
Georgia's like best shot to lose. I think is at Tennessee.
yeah, if they could win out, they would definitely make it. They have
I just
that'd
don't
be
see them
some.
beating both Bama and Georgia. I think they beat one or the other.
Yeah, they could lose to
If
both.
either if yeah if they win either. Then we got Duke. Duke was on a bye, I believe, this past weekend. No. They played NC
NC
State.
State, yeah.
Um, their backup, he I guess passed for about 100 yards. Uh, they did a good job of not letting NC State get much going on the ground. Their running backs didn't really have anybody. Yeah, 38
38
yards is their
yards.
highest rusher.
Yeah, I mean they're the quarterback stepping in for Riley Leonard. I mean, solid game. I mean, only four completions, but for 107 yards, I would take that. That completion percentage is terrible.
That's big plays every time he throws
That's
the ball,
that
though.
dude's throwing Hail Marys. Let's see. Yeah, 69-yard pass. They had an 83-yard touchdown run or 83. Yeah, or not touchdown. Yeah, I guess it would be touchdown run. I'm fucking retarded. So yeah, they really big plays. 52-yard field goal. That's pretty far for college kickers.
That's really far. It's an impressive field goal.
So NC State definitely could have won this game. This dude just ding little dink passes the whole game. This man's got 193 yards on 24 completions. Nothing crazy.
So
Everything's pretty even.
with Duke looking this good without Riley Leonard, does that make you feel like a little bit nervous going into this game against Duke as a Florida State fan?
Nah, I'm not. I'm not like I'm a little worried. I'm worried every game, obviously. But I obviously want Riley Leonard to play. That's just gonna make our team better. It's gonna make us look better. I want our defense to be challenged. Because if we're not being challenged every week, we're gonna roll into a playoff game or the ACC championship, and we're just gonna get fucking rolled. So,
Yeah,
our
absolutely.
defense is gonna be riding high, and then we're gonna get exposed, which we have been getting exposed. This week, though, this is actually I'll talk more about it later, but yeah, good year for Duke. I'm happy for him.
And we already touched on Notre Dame that they had a great performance. Utah, they had a really good win against Cal. This is the first time their backup quarterbacks, have played pretty decent. I believe they went with Barnes this time. They have this
Yeah.
guy on on Utah. I don't know if you've heard of him. He's a safety and he's been running Wildcat quarterback.
Mm-mm.
His name is Sione Baki, and he rushed for 158 yards and two touchdowns, and he had four tackles on defense.
Damn.
Um, he's had an interception against Florida, so he's really good on both sides of the ball.
Uh-huh.
I guess this is, from my understanding, this is the first time they really broke him out like that. So
Uh,
USC might be in trouble playing Utah if this guy,
yeah.
is really that good of a weapon.
That's a lot of snaps and a lot of running though. If you're playing running, it's like the same the Travis Hunter, like kind of people are like, okay, he's playing too many snaps, like he's out the dog ass tired. Like this 72-yard touchdown run, and then he immediately has to go back out there and play defense. Like I don't know if you've ever tried running 70 yards. That's pretty far.
Yeah, I think he's not utilized as much in the offense as Travis
Yeah.
Hunter is. Like he's more like very situational.
At
Like
this game
he
though, he had
plays
15
game.
carries.
Yeah,
That's quite a bit.
so I don't know what they're planning on doing with him. And this is how they're planning on running him for the rest of the season. This is my first time ever hearing of this guy.
They would probably like hit the drawing board and was like, yo, we got to do something like until Cam Rising comes back,
Yeah,
if he comes back. That's so depressing. I was so high on Utah, man. Every year they looking good. And I'm like, okay, this is the year for Utah. Not even from Utah. I have no affiliation with Utah, but I like the team. I don't know why.
I mean the culture they have there, and they're
Yeah,
more defensive in an offensive conference, and
I guess so.
I don't know, they're like underdogs. They haven't really ever won anything, so you just kind of they're natural to like. Like I really like them.
What they won the Pac-12 last year, didn't they?
Yeah,
And the year
I
did
mean
they win it the
they
year
haven't
before?
they've never won. Yeah, I think
Yeah,
they won a Rose Bowl like 2 years ago, but they've never like, or have
yeah.
they made no, they haven't made the playoffs. No, that's never happened.
No, because they always end up with like one or two losses.
But they're
But
always right outside the
yeah,
playoffs.
this year it's gonna be the same story. Hate to see it.
Ole Miss was on a bye week, so uh
Yeah, Oregon State.
they didn't look good the last time they played against Arkansas. So I'm just curious to see how they bounce back. I'm not even sure who they play this upcoming week.
Probably
They're one of those
nobody.
teams that really needs to get their stuff together because they could be
Auburn.
a playoff team. Yeah, it should be. They got 2 to 3
I don't see why they
kind of
don't win
easy games.
every game here other than Georgia. They could finish with
Yeah,
two losses. And if they win out, I think they make the playoffs. Yeah.
easily, and then they'll most likely get a chance to redeem their loss against Alabama in the SEC championship.
That they definitely can win all these games because like Auburn has no quarterback. Vanderbilt got blown out this week. A&M's hot trash the majority of the time. Georgia with potentially no Brock Bowers, that's a blowout win, and Mississippi State. That could be a tricky game on the road. The last game of the year, maybe like okay, if we win this game, we got playoff hopes. So that could be a trap game.
Yeah. Then we have Oregon State. We kind of already touched on them.
Yeah.
They played a really good game against UCLA. They're another team where I'm like, could they make a run at the playoffs? I just don't think so in that Pac-12. How kind of stacked the Pac-12 is.
If they went out, 100, this fucking schedule's terrible. Jeez, they're not. There's no way they're beating Arizona. Arizona's hot right now. I love Arizona. That
Arizona, like they're one of the best teams in football right now. Don't let their record fool you.
that
Like they're
freshman at
really, really
quarterback
good.
is insane.
Fafita, I think is his name.
Yeah,
Dude
he's
is a monster. I
he's on
love
he's
that
on
guy.
fire. And their defense looks pretty solid against USC. So uh Colorado, that game could go either way. I mean, all you got Shador, so like that anything can happen. They just need their defense to show up one time. One time.
And they got it. Yeah.
Yeah. Stanford, who knows? They were 1-4 before beating Colorado. So maybe they kind of figured something out and they got some momentum going. Maybe they can
Yeah.
pull some wins. So, that could be a tricky game. And then these two games that nah, I don't see it happening.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The Pac-12 is just a little too deep for him, I think, which is really unfortunate because this is another team where, like, if this is a 12-team playoff, because
They
I
would
don't
be an
see Oregon
interesting
State having a shot after this year, really.
they would be an interesting team, playing like the first game of the playoffs. Like that's not really a team I would want to play. Like I would much rather play like Utah or something.
Yeah. Then you got Alabama here, and I'm a little worried. Not worried about Alabama, but like if I was an Alabama fan, I'd be worried. I'm not worried. I'm hopeful that they
I'm
lose.
praying on their downfall.
But they did not look good against Arkansas. They're up by a little bit, and then Arkansas kind of came back. And I don't know, the offense just is not clicking right.
I mean, Miller didn't have a terrible game. He threw for 238, two touchdowns, but uh they just don't really seem like they have anything on offense. Like, I mean, obviously they got a badass kicker, but that's it.
Yeah, I mean Milrow, he made a throw to pretty much win the game at the end on like a third down.
It's crazy.
Um,
They almost doubled the yards and they still almost lost.
I don't know what's going on with Bama, like, or was this just a fluke? I don't know, but they've had. I don't think it's a fluke because I mean they struggled against USF, they struggled against Texas, now they're struggling here.
I feel so bad for Arkansas. Like, like, if any time they were ever going to do anything, it would be like last year, this year with KJ Jefferson. I'm pretty sure he's a senior, so I don't think they're gonna have him anymore. Yeah, he's gone.
That
I
dude is
don't.
insane. He's 247 pounds. Like that dude is
Yeah,
huge. He's like Cam Newton size.
yeah, and he's not that great, but like he's like one of the better quarterback. Like look at this fucking sacks though. Like that's insane. Like that's it right there. And then he throws at least an interception every game. He don't really run too much, but
Yeah, and they were missing Rocket Sanders at running back. He was out with an injury. I think that could have really kind of tipped the scale to
Yeah,
Arkansas's favor.
I don't see why not. But I just feel bad for Arkansas, man.
They're so talented, but like they just can
They
never
just can't.
put it together.
They can't.
And they're in too tough of a conference.
They
They should
should
move over to the Big 12.
Big 12 or ACC. Like I think they would have some success.
They're just one of those teams. They're just I don't know if they'll ever be good just because the recruiting around them. And North Carolina, Jesus man, they're coming
They
alive.
I almost picked them for my defensive performance of the week. They forced four turnovers, but they gave up quite a bit of yards. So and they had less a couple seconds less time of possession. Doesn't really matter. But Jay, this fucking what's his name?
Tez Walker, yeah,
Yeah,
Demontez Walker.
their transfer. That guy is crazy. I'm scared to play UNC. I'm not gonna
That's
lie.
his second game this year, and this is what he's doing.
I'm scared because we have nobody to cover that man. Not a single soul on our secondary. Not a. We could put two dudes on that dude and he's still catching balls.
And Drake May is, starting to look like Drake May again. They had a great rushing performance, 197 yards.
Yeah, 197 yards on the ground is really good. He threw
Then
for
on
two.
top of that, you got Drake May throwing 4 touchdowns.
Yeah. If North Carolina, if they beat us in the ACC and they make the playoffs, they could be a problem. They could be a problem because
So Miami is not back.
Miami get booked. Love to see it. I cannot wait to play Miami, man.
Yeah, you were talking about Chris Paul being on the hot seat, and I was like, I don't know. I think his seat's starting to get warm now.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, I'm telling you, he's not the guy.
Then you have Oregon. They only moved down a spot, and that's probably as far as they should have moved down because they played great. They did almost everything they could do.
I disagree.
I didn't like Danny. I think Dan Lanning's kind of the reason they lost. He was just doing it way too aggressive. Just fourth down, he has to go for it. 2 points, got to go for it. And it worked out sometimes, but then there's other times where it
They
didn't
got
work
that
out.
first 2 point here, and I was like, okay, Washington's eventually gonna have to go to two if they're gonna go, back and forth. I was like, this could be an issue. Um, and then it just kind of started getting away from him a little bit. It was just kind of downhill from there, and then they brought it back. They took the lead, and I was like, okay, it's probably over. I think I watched like this portion of the game. I missed a lot of it, but this was my game of the week, by the way.
Yeah,
I'm
I
assuming
believe
you
this
probably had
was
the same.
mine. Let's see. Game of the week. Yeah, Washington versus
Yeah,
Oregon. Yeah.
I figured as much. And then, yeah, I don't have anything else on this game. But yeah, Michael Penix didn't even really have. He played good, but it's like he was like missing a lot of passes that I feel like he should have been making.
Yeah. And he had the
Uh,
interception too.
yeah, fucking was it his first one? I think.
I
Maybe, yeah,
believe it
I
might have
think it was.
been.
This is a Dunza dudes, Roma Dunza. That guy's crazy good.
Great receiver.
And then it really seemed like Washington's defense, I feel like they definitely kind of got exposed a little bit. Like before this, we was like, okay, their defense is really good, it seems, and we're kind of just waiting for them to play somebody good. And they were just missing so many tackles. It was like they're just trying to make arm tackles and just that running back, this Irving dude, was just blowing through people. And they couldn't stop the run. And I was like, okay, Washington's gonna lose because they can't stop the run. And then just their receivers and whatnot out in space, they just couldn't bring them down. They pick up 5, 6 first down again, and then they get down in the red zone and then they would kind of stop them a little bit. But I thought Washington was in trouble, 100%. But I'm so glad they won. I really so glad. Like, look at that, 541 yards. Like that's a lot of yards to give up. More first downs. Like they should have lost this game. Like everything points to Washington should have lost, but it probably is Dan Lanning's fault.
Yeah, I think his aggressive play call. And this is a big, big win for Washington because they've always kind of been like a Utah or somebody. They
Yeah.
can't win these big games. Now they finally got a big win. Now can they continue this the whole rest of the way?
I don't see why not. I mean, at least until the playoffs. I think when they make the playoffs, I'm gonna see who they get matched up in, and I think I'm gonna cash out that bet. I don't think I'm gonna ride Washington to the national championship. With that defense, I can't see it. I can't see it. They're gonna match up against Michigan, or if Ohio State makes it. Like those are really good offenses and really good running games. Travion Henderson's a fucking unit. Yeah, Blake Corum, like they ain't stopping them. Tell me that this defense is stopping those running backs, or
Yeah,
they
and
Florida State makes it Trey Benson. No
I
chance.
I do think they have a solid defense, but it just doesn't seem like it's
They
quite
would have
there
to.
yet.
They'd have to take the USC route. They're gonna have to outscore. And Michael Penix is gonna have to throw for 400 and 4 touchdowns. Okay, if he's playing like that, yeah, okay. And if he keeps playing like that, but uh, I don't. I was honestly like expecting Washington to like win more comfortably. So I think this made me kind of bring Washington down just a little bit, in my opinion. But I mean, I did move them up in my rankings, so
Yeah,
I gave them their credit. But I'm a little worried about them.
I'm not incredibly worried. I think they're solid, but they do have a tough schedule down the stretch. Penix, I mean, he played good. Could have played a little bit better.
Yeah, it's
I
a
think
big
Danny
game,
Lanning
so
lost the game though.
he did.
He, he's a it's kind of funny because he was all like, "We're playing for wins and
Not
they're playing for
clicks.
clicks." Like, your kind of gimmicks
Shut
on fourth down are kind of clicks to me. I don't
Yeah,
know,
your
but
fucking 200,000 uniform combinations. Like you were all like flash. Like that's all Oregon. They're just flash. Every year they're just flash. This is might be the best team Oregon has had in a long time since
probably since
Mariota.
Mariota. Yeah,
And if they can't get it done this year, like I don't know like what they can do to. And they got guys, they got guys. They got guys on defense. They got guys on offense. They got a good quarterback. They just can't put it together. I would be upset if I was an Oregon fan. I would really be upset.
they're kind of it's really crazy because they're almost on like a Utah kind of, but they get so much hype before they lose every time. That's kind of what gets them, I
Yeah.
think.
And then them only dropping one spot, I completely disagree. North Carolina should be over them. I would put Bama, Oregon State, and Ole Miss above them. I think they should be like in this range. Dropping one spot is fucking egregious on a loss. Like I get it was a close game, but like look at when fucking Alabama lost to Texas. They were pretty close and they dropped what, like 7 or something like that?
Yeah, they drop pretty far out.
I don't know. It's just weird to me. It's very weird.
I agree with it, but I think it kind of has more to do with how highly I think of Washington right now.
Yeah,
Um,
that's you could argue either way. I think so.
but I kind of see your point. Like North Carolina, they haven't lost a game. They look
Like
really good.
who else that loses drops one spot? Nobody. I don't think
Yeah,
anybody that's lost this year has dropped just one spot.
yeah. I think that's
I don't think
shortest like slide this whole year.
it's crazy. It's just weird. I don't like it.
Texas, they didn't play. They got Houston
Yeah,
coming up.
Penn
Should be a
State
nice little bounce back
blew
game for
out
them.
UMass. I think is who they played.
Yeah, why are they scheduling a non-conference game in the middle of the season? It's kind of weird.
And it's right before Ohio State, so I mean I get it, but we don't even need to talk about Penn State. I mean they got Ohio State this weekend, so we could talk about that later on, I suppose.
Yeah, so we're pretty much into our top six now. So we could.
I'm gonna take a quick restroom break.
All right. I will keep the crowd entertained. So yeah, six we have Oklahoma. I disagree a little bit with us sliding down that far. I mean it's not that big of a deal because everything's gonna work itself out. But I know a lot of Michigan fans are gonna hate me for this, but Michigan has not played anybody yet. They have looked dominant so far, but I mean they came out against Indiana. They're struggling a little bit. It was like 14-7, I think, at the end of the first quarter, or 7-7, something like that. They just don't have anybody on their schedule that I think really justifies them being ranked two. But I test they are the best team in the country. I test the wait till they play somebody before we make this judgment on them. Ohio State, I don't think their win against Notre Dame is quite as good as Oklahoma's win against Texas. Their win against Notre Dame certainly looks better after after Notre Dame did what they did to USC. So yeah. But Washington I'd have above Oklahoma, Florida State I'd have above Oklahoma, Georgia, I have them above Oklahoma, but I would have Oklahoma sitting a little bit higher than where they are now at the moment. But I understand the reasoning behind why they are where they are at the moment. But That's just kind of my take on that. Um,
Like the longest piss of my life. That's what it feels like. I'm like trying to hurry, and I'm just like, just keeps coming.
that happens sometimes. Uh,
All
yeah, I
right,
was just talking about how. I guess we'll get into the top six, and I'll kind of explain
man.
my viewpoint.
It's getting so tight up here. It's so hard to like stay consistent with like points from like pre. I'm like thinking, I'm like, well, I said this about this team, why I had them there, and then I'm like going back on it, like, and I'm putting this team over this team, and I'm just like, fuck. It's so hard to stay consistent, other than with like my Georgia staying number 1 point. It's like the only consistency I
I'm
have.
trying to balance. I'm trying to balance eye test
Yeah,
versus resume, and it's getting really hard
it
right
is
now.
it is. I'm kind of in the same boat. So, you go ahead. Sorry, you got a six.
Six, I have the fans are gonna hate me for it. I got Michigan at six.
Okay.
They just haven't played anybody yet. They've looked dominant, but they came out against Indiana. I watched a little bit of the start of that game. It was like 7-7 at the end of the first quarter, and then they just destroyed Indiana the rest of the way.
Yeah.
But I'm just waiting on Michigan to play somebody. Obviously, they look like the best team in the country, but that doesn't really mean anything until you actually play somebody.
Yeah. See, Michigan's like one of those teams where I'm like, kind of say like I'm fucking like bouncing back and forth. Like, do you I want to put them two or do I want to put them six? Like, and yeah, I got Ohio State six.
I don't disagree with you there. That's another team you could argue.
Yeah, they almost lost to Notre Dame. Notre Dame's got two losses. They blew out USC, so it's so wishy-washy. Like, I think Ohio State's good. I'm still just not sold on them. We'll see this week. They play Penn State, so I'm really glad this game's finally happening. I got Penn State on the upset. Hopefully, fingers crossed, because I'm
It's
sick.
possible.
I'm sick of Ohio State.
It's at Ohio State. I'll come out and say this. We're not unbiased.
No,
He's
I'm
wearing a
saying.
Florida State jersey right now. I mean, we're a little biased. There are a few teams I just don't want to see win. Georgia, Ohio State, getting sick of them. And I'm
Yeah.
starting to get that way with Michigan. I'm starting to get to a point where I'm like,
I
Michigan.
mean, Michigan hasn't won anything, so like I wouldn't be mad if they won the whole thing. I'd be like, okay, it's been due. They've been prepping and building every year to get to this point. So if they finally are able to cash it in, so be it. Cool. It's not gonna
I
happen
do like
again.
Michigan better than Ohio State, and then they have some players I'm a really big fan of.
I like their
I like
coach better.
McCarthy. I like
Hardball's fucking
Harbaugh.
hilarious.
Quorum's a great running back. Donovan
Yeah.
Edwards been underutilized, but great,
Uh,
second running back.
I'm sick of hearing about JJ McCarthy. I think he's overhyped as hell.
He is a little overhyped, but that
They
win
they, they
against
have
Ohio
played
State
no
last
they have
year,
played nobody. So his stats are super inflated. But he
yeah,
has he has looked pretty good other than one glaring game I'll probably discuss later.
yeah. And then five, I have Ohio State. Basically same points you made. Um, I could kind of understand the argument because the Notre Dame win looks better now that they destroyed USC, but I don't know. It's a two-loss Notre Dame. It's certainly better than anything Michigan has on their schedule.
I agree. And that's why I was like, "Ugh." I'm just kind of sticking with my guns on Michigan, I guess. I got OU at 5.
Okay.
I think I had them 4. No, I think I had them 3 last week. Yeah, they did have a bye. I just think that outside of like Michigan and obviously Georgia, the two teams I have above them have like actually what, never mind. Because I got Washington ahead of OU because like that Washington win and the OU Texas win are like basically dead even.
Yeah,
Um, I guess I'm just penalizing OU for being on a bye for the week, but being in the top 6, it doesn't matter. They're there. It's better than
yeah.
18 where they were earlier in the year. So I would love just be there.
That's what I was saying when you stepped away. Is that I think OU should be a little bit higher than where they are, but it's really not that big of a deal at the moment. But I
It's
think
hard to
OU has
argue.
they have
It's hard
better
to
wins than
argue it.
Ohio State
Yeah,
and
and Michigan and
Michigan
Georgia.
and Georgia. But Georgia's got that national championship thing going for them, so you
Yep.
can't really do anything. But we're on a bye. it makes sense. Oklahoma is who I have at 4. I had us at 3 last week. Moved us down because of the bye, and I moved Washington ahead of us.
Yeah.
So
I got Washington at 4.
okay, that's
Uh, I mean, like like you got OU and Washington, like I was saying, those wins, the big wins that they have, those marquee wins are basically even for me. Like, actually, I would maybe favor the Texas win over the Washington win against Oregon because they weren't supposed to win that game. They were underdogs. Like, I think Washington was probably maybe the slight favorite if I had to go back and guess.
yeah, I believe they were like it
Uh,
was a like a 6.5 or something
And
like
even
that.
going into the game, I was like, okay, I think Washington's gonna win. They should win, and I thought they was gonna win by a little bit more. So the Texas win, I think, means a little more to me. I might also be a little more biased because from Oklahoma too. I don't even like OU, but I do root for them on occasion. Um,
Yeah, my argument for Washington being higher is, as far as this is where I was saying balancing eye test versus resume. Washington has looked better throughout
yeah,
the season than OU has,
I would
and
say
then
so.
now they have a comparable win,
And I,
so
I would
it
even
makes sense.
wager to say that even like the non like big games that Washington's played in, like the talent that they've been playing might even be a little bit better than the teams OU've played.
Yeah, absolutely. So I
So
mean, they have a win against Arizona, who's looking really good,
and
and that
Arizona
was a
gave
close game. That's kind of what I was penalizing Washington for, but
yeah.
now
So
looking at
that
it,
that
it
that's
makes
gonna be a
sense.
big win probably at the end of the year. Even if Washington ends up not, or not Washington, Arizona doesn't win out. Like that Arizona team is frightening. So
Nobody wanted to play them.
I don't want to play them, especially with our defense. I got FSU 3.
You got FSU at 3.
hmm I just
Okay.
I don't know. I'm standing by our two big wins, our LSU Clemson wins. I mean, LSU's dogging on people on offense. I mean, yeah, they're getting into some shootouts, but that offense is fucking insanely good, and we blew them out. So it was the first game of the year. I'm really kind of glad we got that the first game of the year. They definitely don't seem like they were ready. Um, And then Clemson, yeah, we did good overtime with them, and then they have not looked as good as they have previously, but it's still Clemson. They still have that talent. I'm gonna stand by it. It's a big rivalry game for us. I hadn't beat them in like 10 years, so or 9 matchups, whatever the fuck it was. But yeah, I'm gonna stand by those 2 wins. I think those 2 wins are I'm gonna favor a little bit more than the Texas and Oregon win.
Yeah,
Maybe
because
maybe
there's two.
maybe a little biased. Maybe those 2 wins equal one of those wins. I would wager to say, but and we did come off an absolute dominant performance against Syracuse, and then Oklahoma was on a bye. So
Yeah, I mean, this Syracuse game, this has got to be the game you're looking for.
oh,
Like finally, like
absolutely,
a purely
finally.
dominant performance.
I mean, our second quarter was a little weird. Uh, Jordan Travis, man, he took another big hit before half and ended up having to go to the locker room before halftime. So like, I'm just like I'm concerned like about his health long term. Um, I just feel like he's like taking too many risks trying to make plays and keep plays alive. And he does. He takes hits. He goes for the first downs. He drives. He tries to take linebackers on. He tries to take cornerbacks and safeties on. Like he don't care. Like he just plays hard. And that's what I love about him. But he's gonna get fucking hurt if he's not careful.
Yeah.
So
So yeah, number 3. This is a hot take. I have Georgia at number 3. They just didn't look very good against Vanderbilt. They didn't look good against South
and I
Carolina.
did blow Vanderbilt out though.
It was like by 18 points.
Yeah, that's a blowout. I'd say
It, I mean, like
it's
they
3 scores.
dominated most of the game for the most part, but early on it was like
Vanderbilt was
seven to
up on
seven
him.
for a little
Yeah,
bit. Yeah,
they
like
got up
Vanderbilt
early.
had a chance, I believe, to go up 10-0, but they like
Man,
missed a field goal.
it seems every game like Georgia's like down early, like quick. Like they're always down by a score to start, it seems like. And I'm like, oh, okay, is this the week? And then sure enough, fucking whatever offense they're playing just doesn't show up the rest of the game, and it's fucking annoying.
Georgia, obviously, they look
They
really
haven't
good.
played anybody though either, so
They haven't played anybody. They just had too many slow starts for me. Have you seen Vanderbilt's stadium? That is just a disgrace to college football.
no, I haven't.
They're doing construction on it during the season. They had a camera guy in it had to wear a hard hat.
And the crane.
Yeah, what is
That's
wrong with them?
that's great. I love it.
So,
I
so
mean,
normally what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to
play it like a different
if
site.
you're redoing the end zones, you do one end zone, one off season or something, then you leave it. But
Yeah.
no, they do them both. Like right now, I'm like, what is wrong with you? This is why nobody wants to come to your school. Who wants to go play in a construction site? What is wrong
They
with
got
you
scaffolding and shit
guys?
on the sidelines. Like all the players got to wear their helmets at all times. The coaches got hard hats. That'd be fucking hilarious.
In a sport where, and especially in college football, where environment is such a big
Yeah,
thing, you guys have like the worst environment in the country.
you love to see
Easily
it.
the worst stadium in the country right now. What is wrong with you guys? Um, but number two, I have Florida State. I was waiting on Florida State to have kind of a dominant performance, so I
Yeah,
was a little worried about them. They came out, they had that. Plus, I do agree with you that the two wins kind of equal
one
one
big
big
win.
win, and they're I don't think they're more complete than Oklahoma or Washington, but they just to
I
me
feel
they
like
have a
we're
better
all kind of like the
resume.
same level.
Yeah,
Um, I mean, you can argue like our fucking offense is like insanely talented. Like we have just weapons on every spot. And then like, but Washington had us the kind of the same thing. And then like OU's kind of looking like, other than the running back group, the
yeah,
receivers look like they're pretty solid. Quarterbacks playing at a Heisman level. So like all three teams, Heisman quarterbacks, pretty solid receiving groups. If not, the top 10 for all three teams in the country type thing. Um, I feel like our I feel like our just running backs kind of set us apart. We got Toafili and Benson, just absolute monsters.
yeah. You could kind of find holes in like all three teams. Like
Yeah,
OU's big problem is they don't have a running game and their secondary is a little weak. Florida State,
secondary atrocious.
uh, the whole I wouldn't say the whole defense, but the defense has had moments this season where you're just like, what is going
Yeah, what
on
are
with
we
this
doing?
team? And
Hmm.
then Washington, you could almost say the same thing for them on their defense.
They finally played a
It's
good
not quite
team
there.
and
Yeah.
kind of we seen what they were about.
I feel like
So
you could honestly interchange the three teams right now. They're
for
they're
sure,
they're pretty neck and neck.
that's what I was saying. It's getting real tight up here. I got Michigan too. Just I don't know. I'm kind of I don't know what the fuck I'm doing with Michigan. I'm just leaving them at two, I guess, until
You're
you
you're
know
you're you're buying the hype right now.
I'm not sold on him. Like I said, I'm not sold on their quarterback. I don't think he is as good as everybody thinks. And when we get into our Heisman top five, I'm gonna touch on one glaring game that stands out to me. Yeah, it could have been a bad game, but none of the other guys up here have had that type of game. Um, it's just like their weak spot to me is their quarterback, who everybody thinks he's like, he's going first in the draft, like not first, but like first round in the draft. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about, bro? Like they got him going over Jordan Travis, they got him going over like Dylan Gabriel, like all these other dudes, and I'm just like, I don't think so.
I think he should come back another year. That's what I think he should do.
Especially if they don't win it all this year, why not? Because all these teams are losing all of their quarterbacks. So
Shout
I
out
just
to Michigan fans. I know we have one guy that's at least commented a couple times. Like he obviously watches the show. I don't hate your team or nothing. I'm just waiting for you guys to play somebody.
obviously I don't either. I got him at fucking two over my team, who I obviously has played better teams and has a better schedule and resume, or not schedule, but a better resume.
Yeah,
Yeah, sure, we might have a better schedule. I don't know.
I watch Joel Klatt. He has like a YouTube show he
I like
does.
Joel Klatt. I really do.
He compares Michigan to like a boa constrictor. Like they start off kind of slow, but like before you know it, like
Yeah,
they're
they got
wrapped
you.
around you, and you're just like getting destroyed from like every aspect.
Yeah, they're a very good team. They got a solid defense. They got solid coaching. They're a very well run team. And if you come in there not ready to play, they're gonna get you. They're gonna wear you down, and then they'll get you. So that I completely agree with that. And obviously, I got Georgia one still. Unfortunately, I really wish I wouldn't done this to myself, but because I fucking am sick of Georgia, and they're not the number one team. If I'm gonna like go off of like resume and like best wins, like it would be like At that point, I'm fucking putting Florida State 1, Washington, Oklahoma 2, 3 in some order, Ohio State 4,
Or
and then Michigan probably 5, and Georgia 6. You could interchange Georgia and Penn State for 6. Well, actually, you could probably put North Carolina right there at that 6 spot too. It'd be one of those 3 teams. So like, if you're going off from just purely resume,
yeah, if you're going, and that's my list is a little bit more geared towards resume, but I got to work in the eye test a little bit because I
uh
mean you can't just go off a solely resume. You
no,
can't go off a solely either one because you're gonna be wrong. I mean, we're gonna be wrong. We've probably been wrong plenty of times this season, but you have a
uh,
less chance of being wrong if you kind of balance it out. I
uh,
have Washington at number one. They've
I
been passing my eye test the whole year, and now they got
yeah,
that quality win on their resume. Michael Penix is playing lights out. Even like he threw
like they
300 yards, and that was kind of like not a great game for him.
yeah.
Like that's the level
They had a
he's playing
game-winning
at.
drive to go down and take the lead to win. So I mean,
That's his Heisman moment if Washington can keep winning.
he's got the clutch factor. He's got the clutch factor. Obviously, like he didn't fold. So and even throughout the game, like yeah, he had some like missed throws and some stalled drives, but every team has that.
I think he's
Uh,
the best left-handed quarterback I've ever seen
and
at the college level. I think he's better than
his
Tua.
fucking throwing is like when he drops back and like he's like not really planted and he just fucking heaves it. Like it's weird how he throws it. And I'm like, that's a fucking terrible ball, and it somehow ends up like right where he wants it to be. And I'm like, what? His like just like throwing motion's so weird.
He has just
I don't
phenomenal
like
arm
it.
talent.
I don't
It's
like
it's
it.
crazy that he was at Indiana. Like it just kind of blows my mind when I think about it. Like
Yeah,
this man was at Indiana.
I don't think he'd be at this point like at this level at Indiana. Like yeah, obviously he has a very very good receiving core. Like that receiving core, like it's top 5 if not the best in the country. Like they're probably competing with Ohio State for best
Yeah,
receiving core in the country.
I would say yeah, second to Ohio State, and
And
it's arguable.
yeah, so he's lucky. He's got a very good offense. He's got a good coach. And you know what? It is the coach that was ultimately able to get him to Washington. So good on him. Yeah, I like Washington a lot.
So that's our top six. Let us know in the comments what your top six is and what points that we made that you disagree with.
You ain't got Florida State 1. You're wrong.
No, I want you guys to comment because like I'm open minded, so maybe you'll say something that changes my mind about
Yeah,
in the way I'm looking at everything. I'm sure there's a lot of people that are watching that watch what more than us and they keep up with more than we do.
for
So
sure.
yeah, let us know what your top six is. I'm sure we have some hot takes in ours. I'm sure somebody's fan base is mad.
Yeah, fuck him.
Michigan guy gonna be in the comments again.
I mean, I got him at 2. Like, I don't know what else he wants from me. Like, what
I
you
had
gonna
him
put
at
him 1?
six.
Yeah,
I feel like I'm
he's
just
gonna be
like
mad at you.
I feel bad because like I feel like I'm disrespecting Michigan every week, but I'm just like they ain't played anybody
Yeah,
yet.
once we see him play a good team and see how they play it, then we'll get more clarity. We can roll into our player of the week. We could potentially have the same guy.
I know you're going with the Stanford guy, aren't you?
No, this dude is fucking insane.
That's
Did you
not who
like
I picked because I knew you were gonna pick
that
him.
was like probably like one of the best receiving like games I've ever seen. And all this was like the second half. That was all in the second half. Like this dude, he was non-existent in the first half. Like that's not his fault. I mean, the quarterback, I think they made a change in the second half, and holy shit, that was the guy was unstoppable, unstoppable. They put Travis Hunter on him,
It was all on
embarrassed,
Travis Hunter for the most part too. That's what's crazy about it.
embarrassed him. That touchdown where it's
Where
yeah,
he like
this
wrapped his arm
This one
around
right
him.
here,
Yeah.
he caught it on the back of his helmet and walked him into the end zone with him. Like embarrassed. If I was Travis Hunter, I'd be like, okay, I ain't fucking playing quarterback anymore. I'm done for the year. Like that was bad. That was very bad. And it was the same play. It was a slant on the left side every time. They just couldn't stop it. Slide a linebacker over or something. Like fuck, dude. They ran it like 5 times on the same drive. It's just and then their Colorado's defense, man. Charles Kelly, that dude needs to be gone. We had him at Florida State. He's bad. He's so bad.
Was he that bad at Florida State?
Yeah, that's why we've been fucking shit for so long because our fucking coaches are across the board just bad. I think we had him when we had Willie Taggart, and then maybe at the end of Jimbo. I don't know. It feels like a fucking lifetime ago.
I will say that was honestly that was one of the worst defensive coordinator like performance if you want to call it because you know how many times they had 12 men on the field? It was like 3 or 4 times. How do you
Oh
let
my
that happen?
God, bro. We had him. So we had him for our fucking national championship. He was a linebacker coach. He was our defensive coordinator for 3 years when we were fucking. That was when we got embarrassed to
That's right when it
Oregon.
started going downhill.
Yup. And then he goes to Tennessee, Alabama. You think he would have picked something up at Alabama, but I mean, I like his energy and like his fire. Like he's fired up, but like Jesus Christ, dude, your defense obviously is fucking terrible.
Well, and there's just a lot of times where it was on him, like those 12 men on the field. That's on him, and then you're not making adjustments. If they could beat you on the same route over and over and
Five
over
times on
again,
a drive.
there's something schematically that you are not doing right, and that's on your best player. And
Yeah.
which it raises some question marks for Travis Hunter for me just a little bit. Like, is he really
Uh,
all that?
it's you gotta. I give him a little bit of slack. Like it is his first game back after
And
his
he's playing both
injury,
sides.
and he's playing both sides. Like he's just playing too much. Because you got to think in practice, he's probably practicing on both sides of the ball. And then in the game, he's you know both sides of the ball still. It's a lot of snaps, and he's already played a lot of snaps in the first 2 games before he got hurt. So he's got to pick a side. I don't think he can really keep this up. And obviously, he was exposed. Granted, this dude's in fucking insane. 6'2", 210. He's a dog.
He put himself on
Absolute
the map here.
absolute dog.
He changed my perception of Stanford football because now I'm thinking, like, I feel like this is when they discovered how good he was, and now I'm like, if they could roll with this guy the rest of the year, they might make some noise.
I think they had a quarterback like issue because I think they were like flip flopping back and forth, and they finally just settled on the guy that played the entire rest of the second half, and he was cooking, making good throws too. It's not like he was just like small dump offs or handing it off to the running back. It was all the quarterback, and then this guy obviously, but. It's not like he was catching crazy one handers other than that when he mossed Travis Hunter, but maybe they got to figure it out. So I'd be hopeful if I was a Stanford fan. I mean this is gonna be a tough game, obviously. Um, if they win this game, I would be like, okay, Stanford, I'd watch out for them. But
You know,
Colorado just doesn't have a defense to begin with, so they got no pressure on that man. That defensive line got no pressure. Not a not a fucking drop. It seemed like
I don't want to harp too much on this, but like, I'm so glad the Pac-12 is like finishing because those 9:30 games are so ridiculous.
it's like he made it at 1 in the morning. I was like, fuck, somebody please win. I'm trying to go to bed.
And it's always they always go to overtime when they're that late too.
Yeah,
It's the third
Arizona
week in a row,
USC,
like third or fourth week in a row where like the 9:30 game went to overtime because you had Colorado, Colorado State, Colorado Stanford,
USC,
USC,
Arizona.
Arizona.
Go to like double overtime too. It's cool. I mean, I love it as a college football fan, but Jesus Christ, it's so late.
I'll jump to my favorite player here in a minute, but while we're on this subject, I'll just say my worst performance of the week was Colorado. That collapse was embarrassing. Um,
Yeah, up
I've
29,
never seen. I mean, I have, but like in this fashion, it was just embarrassing.
up 29 in the first half. Like the game should have been over. They should have came out and they didn't score another point until in the fourth quarter. Like I don't fucking get it. Um, it's the defense, man. It's not the offense. It's the offense is fantastic. Like this, Colorado has a really good offense. It's just you like, got to think like the offense is putting up 29 in the first half, so they're out there a lot. That's a lot of plays, a lot of yards ran. The receivers are out there running a lot. Shador's throwing a lot. I'm curious, like what his attempts were in the first half. It's probably at least half of that, maybe. So that's some people's like entire game like attempts, like passing attempts, and he's pulling it in the first half. He's getting hit a lot. He's running a lot. They're out there fucking tired, and then the defense just a collapse.
Yeah,
They couldn't make one stop. Not one.
they couldn't, and then they did make that one stop, and then Travis Hunter got unsportsmanlike on that, and I'm like, this team
Yo,
is just not disciplined like at all. They have no
Nah, and
discipline to them.
I mean, you can't really harp on them too much. It's the first year. They got,
Yeah,
what, 50 some, 80 some transfers, whatever the fuck it is, something
like a
astronomical.
record. It was a record.
It's, it's only the seventh game. Uh, you can't really dog on them too much. Everybody does because they get so much hype on them, which they deserve. It's still not a disaster year. Like this is such a success for Colorado. I think they could be happy. They might not win another game the rest of the year, but I think they could
Yeah.
they could be happy with what they've done so far.
I mean,
Like,
this is a successful year for him. It was just a bad performance. And one thing I'll say about Shador, as well as he's playing, he needs to just when it's like fourth, because I think they sacked him twice on fourth down. He just needs to throw it up because at that point, if it's an interception, that's like the same as a punt at that point.
yeah,
And instead, you're taking less
a
yards and you're
huge
giving the
sack.
team a better
Granted, he does
field
get away
position.
with a lot of those. Like the majority of those, he finds his way out. So
He does run backwards a lot though, and
yeah, I feel like he
it's kind
drops
of
back
frustrating.
really far. I might be tripping, but like I feel like he drops back really far, which he probably has to give him like a good buffer between him and the fucking line. Because as soon as he drops back, like they're on him, it seems.
Yeah, and I don't want to beat up on Colorado too much. They're still one of my favorite teams in college
Yeah.
football. Just to collapse bad performance. But my player of the week, this guy, I believe his name's Omarion Gordon, for Oklahoma State. It might not be Omarion, it might be Ollie, but Oklahoma State's running back slash receiver. I can't remember if it's Ollie or Omarion. There's a Omarion somewhere. Let's see. They had
Oh,
a
that's
really good
that's
that's basketball.
basketball. He
um,
probably plays his basketball team too.
They had a really good performance against Kansas.
I
I
thought they were
wasn't
gonna lose this
expecting to talk
game.
about them, honestly.
I
Um,
honestly, Kansas should be embarrassed. This dude,
yeah, look at this. He has 168
holy
rushing yards
shit!
and 116 pass or receiving yards.
That's like
Apparently, he
six
wasn't being
receptions,
utilized early in the year, and this might be part of the reason why Oklahoma State's actually starting to look like they're kind of a problem in the Big 12.
28 for 41. That's fucking terrible. I feel bad for this dude. That dude's out there fucking playing his ass off. 410, 5 touchdowns. I mean, 2 interceptions, but like the completion percentage is pretty solid.
Yeah, I don't think Jalen Daniels makes that much of a difference because this guy's pretty good.
Yeah.
So I think it's really just like the defense isn't very good, and they don't have quite the amount of talent from the teams they're
Yeah,
facing.
I'm surprised Oklahoma State's 4-2. To be honest with you, are you trying to sweat battle them a little more as the year starts to go on? I
I
definitely,
was when they were losing, I was nervous about Bedlam, and
yeah,
now I'm getting like even more nervous because I think like if we're gonna drop a game, I think that's gonna be it.
yeah. Like if you guys are undefeated and they go into this game, like I would be fucking sweating because they're gonna play so hard. Like they're probably gonna come in and play harder than you guys to start. And I could see, you guys go down like 10-0 like early and you're like, oh fuck. And then Dylan Gabriel is gonna have to, turn it on. I hope
It
not.
makes me nervous. It makes me,
Hope
but
not.
their defense is what's kind of making me like, all right, maybe we'll be all right. I still stand on what I said earlier this year, where I do think it's time for Mike Gundy and Oklahoma State to part ways. But one thing I can say is Mike Gundy, you can't deny it. He is a very good coach. The way he's turned this around mid-season, um, I think they just both need to change the scenery.
Yeah, I think he could potentially have some success. I think it depends on where he goes.
But maybe
Um,
maybe the new Big 12, maybe he's really successful there.
I don't see why not. All the big dogs are gone, so Oklahoma State, in theory, should be the big dog.
Yeah, Oklahoma State, Colorado, Arizona is starting to look like they might, be a problem
Man,
next year.
if Fafita don't transfer, Jesus Christ, good luck.
He
That
should
kid's
transfer to Iowa.
oh oh my God, yeah. Bring all your receivers with you, or bring somebody.
Yeah. Can you click? See, I just want to know if his name's Ollie or Omarion.
Ollie,
Ollie. Okay, there's a
you
different
fucking
somebody else named Omarion was on my list.
you lied to me.
Yeah, Ollie Gordon. That guy's a problem. Watch out for him going on. Oklahoma fans, watch out for that guy. He's gonna be a problem.
You got a most disappointing performance.
Yeah, that was Colorado. I was considering them too as well.
Holy shit. We go from, Cam Ward being a Heisman contender to them getting just beat down 2 weeks in a row. only 192, and Arizona just come in and just stomped them out. This shouldn't happen. This shouldn't happen. So obviously Washington State has no defense. They were favored to win the game. They came in 71.8% favorites. This is just shouldn't happen. Shouldn't happen. Yeah, obviously Arizona is way better than everybody thought.
I think it's this quarterback. Like they had a pretty good like De La Cruz, I think was his name or something along those lines.
He better be looking
But
for a new school
this Fafita kid, he's got that it factor about him.
because I think he's a true freshman too.
He
This is
is,
like his third game.
and he has this receiver, McMillan. I guess they went to high school together, so they have a really good connection. And he was hitting him a lot in that USC game.
Is that the guy that got hurt in the USC game?
He might have, but
I think one of the commentators were mentioning like because they got two good receivers. I mean, it's probably this Coleman kid and then
yeah,
that's your bitch
McMillan.
ass. Yeah, and one of them was hurt, so I'm not sure which one it was, but it was like a big deal, and it was like, oh, he's obviously kind of rattled because his dude's hurt, and I was like, okay, wait, whatever.
Yeah, they went to high school together. I guess they got a really good connection, which is making me think he's probably just going to stay at Arizona and ride it out. Um,
I would try.
I would love to see Arizona do good. Like it'd be cool.
I mean, I'm down for it, especially because they are going to the Big 12. They could run the fuck out of that conference. There's nobody that's like completely dominant in the Big 12 now, with OU and Texas leaving. There's no like dominant defenses. And trying to think like Oklahoma State probably has like the best defense in the Big 12 going forward. They typically have a solid defense.
Their defense this year
Um,
has been shaky, but yeah,
yeah, not
typically they
this
have a
year,
good
but
one.
Cincinnati's pretty solid. They've had some good defenses. Uh, Baylor on occasion. UCF could be something. They got a good coach. They got Gus Malzahn, so like I don't see
Yeah,
why he couldn't, recruit some defense. But nobody in the Big 12 recruits defense. Like there's no point. Like you just kind of get by with whatever you get, and then you hope you can just outscore everybody. It's
yeah,
Pac-12. It's Pac-12.
yeah. Arizona, yeah. Washington State. That was a really bad performance by Washington State. Um, Jesus, it was just a couple weeks ago. We're thinking, hey, could they make a playoff? And now
Yeah.
it's looking rough for them. I feel bad. Heisman top five.
I have a my list is weird, man.
Who do you got at number five?
I have like a collective, I guess. I couldn't decide. I got JJ, Jaden Daniels, and Shador. I mean, obviously, LSU's got two losses, right? Colorado's got three, but statistically, Shador is leading everybody in the country. So it's like a Johnny Manziel year, they didn't win everything, so like I don't see why he couldn't win. Like, granted, they might end up with like a good handful of losses, but his stats, like he's beating everybody and everything, and he's getting sacked like a fucking tremendous amount. So I don't see why he doesn't get invited. At least he could still win. I think he could be the first quarterback to win with a shitty ass team and having 5, 6 losses, which would be weird. He's beaten Penix and Caleb Williams in yards. I think he's got the most touchdowns. 3 interceptions ain't too bad. Solid. His QBR is terrible, but that's all from his sacks. Like what 4, 5, 3, 7, 4. Like there's nothing you could do about that. You know what I mean? 7 in a game here against Oregon, but that's probably like their worst game or like his worst game, I suppose.
Yeah,
So I don't know. I couldn't decide. And then Jaden Daniels is right there with him, but way better QBR. He's still getting sacked a good bit. Neither of them are rushing for anything crazy. A couple touchdowns,
so
and then
sacks count against
your
you in
QBR.
college.
Yeah,
Like and they count against your rushing yards because he had like almost 100 against Stanford. Then it went all the way down to what was like 17 at the end of the game because he's getting sacked that much.
at 37.
37.
Yeah,
Like in reality, he probably rushed
and
for
it
like
had
150.
38 in one run here, so like it's obvious. That's a thing. So, and then JJ, I mean, he's having a good year. He's number one in QBR. He's not getting sacked a lot. I mean, he got sacked 4 times against Indiana, but my one thing I did want to touch on is this game right here.
Bowling
I,
Green.
3 interceptions against Bowling Green, 143, only had 8 completions. Like, it's just I don't know. That's and nobody else up here has had this type of game. Not one of these dudes has had 3 interceptions in a game, um, and 11.2 QBR. Like, Jesus Christ, that's terrible. He's not rushing for anything crazy. He's got what, 3 rushing touchdowns here. I'm sure there might be some more. Yeah, 3. So he's got 17 total touchdowns compared to just Jaden Daniels 22 passing and Shador's 21 passing. They're all sitting there with 3 interceptions. It's really the QBR that kind of separates JJ McCarthy, I think, for everybody. Uh, he's not better than these two dudes. There's no fucking way. If Shador was on this team, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I don't think he's. I think his best shot at the Heisman is like a Heisman moment against Ohio State again,
Yeah,
winning out. But I don't think he's. To me,
I just
he's not even in my top five at the moment.
I don't know. I feel like I had to mention him because they're undefeated, and he does have a lot of hype right now. But that's why I kind of have him behind these two guys. I just felt kind of had to tie the 3 of them in at my 5 spot. I feel like that's cheating, I guess, but it's my fucking 5. You can suck my ass. Whoever wants to complain. I mean, you could even argue like one of these dudes could be like even higher based on just stats. It's really just the record that kind of is tanking him.
Yeah, absolutely. So what I'll say about my top five is I firmly believe the Heisman
It's already locked.
is in my top five. Actually, I don't even think it's already locked, but I
I
think
think it's locked.
the 5 guys I have are the 5 guys
Yeah.
that, that are gonna.
It's
One
already
of them is gonna win the Heisman.
yeah, I think this group of like, 5 or 6, like they've already separated themselves from the field.
Yeah. So my thing with the reason I don't think it's locked up is I remember last year every week we'd get on here and we'd be like, "Yep, CJ Stroud's a Heisman to lose," and then
And he lost it.
He lost the game, and then Caleb won.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm not ready to just say it's Penix's, but at 5 I have a Jordan Travis. Um, he's having a really good year. He's just not getting the passing yards, you'd want to see. A lot
Yeah.
of like 200 under games, but he's playing really efficiently. He's got a good QBR, 13 touchdowns. Plus, he has a few on the ground. I don't know how many he has on the ground this year.
4.
3, 4.
We
Yeah.
got
So
3 total touchdowns this week, which is kind of what you want to see against a Syracuse team.
yeah, and he
But
has
yeah, he's
17
definitely
total
not,
touchdowns.
he's definitely not like, blowing people's doors off on the passing route, but we've talked about it before. There's just like more to him, like other than his stats that kind of like give him a boost, I feel, compared to like some of these other dudes, these 3 in particular.
Well, he has just about the same stats as JG McCarthy with a better schedule, like
Yeah.
a significantly better schedule.
1 less passing touchdown and like what, 30 yards less.
Yeah, and against stronger competition, way stronger competition.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not up. I'm gonna honestly like consider dropping him from my list, but I don't know, maybe my bias creeped in and I'm like, because I know more about him than I do the other dudes, so
I think his Heisman campaign is not dead by any means, but
no, it's just
it's gonna take some things to happen
he's gonna have to
that have
win.
nothing to do with him.
He'd have to go undefeated, and some other teams would have like the teams above him would have to lose. OU, Washington, USC'd probably have to lose again,
Yeah,
type thing.
he's
Yeah,
got some obstacles. I think he's in a position where I think he could get invited, and it's not.
he's sitting
I
like
wouldn't be surprised.
he's sitting like third, fourth, I think, in like the majority of people's like Heisman odds, which is shit. I'll take it.
Yeah, I believe
Um,
they can invite 4 people, and I think he'll be one of them.
I don't even think he's really worried about the Heisman, to be honest. Like he's not out there. It doesn't look like he's playing for stats. Like we're just playing to win. So
Yeah,
I'll take it. Uh, actually, I have Travis 4.
Okay. Well, I mean, it makes sense because you're the three people you had at five. Like, JJ
Yeah,
is kind of a different story, but Shador and Jaden Daniels have.
the 2 losses, but their stats are fucking insane. So it's real like you value the undefeated record and him playing like really really solid games. Like he's got 1 interception. Like he takes care of the ball. We've got a solid schedule, but fucking Shador's almost got 1,000 yards on him, which is insane. And same with Jaden Daniels, like and almost like pushing double the touchdowns. So it's like
It's the nature of the award because it's partially a team award, it's partially an individual award.
it's an all quarterback award, unfortunately.
You usually.
Yeah.
So at number four, I have Drake May. I think
Mm,
he has a really, really good shot at the Heisman if they keep winning.
yeah.
I
I
was
can.
low. I was low on him until he got Tez Walker, and now I'm like, okay, now he's starting to heat it up. He's starting
Yeah.
to. I mean, he's already got almost 2,000 yards.
Yep. Good QBR. 4 interceptions. He's up there compared to these other dudes. Rushing wise,
Got four. It looks like.
4. So 16 total touchdowns. I mean, I bet his yards are solid. Like I mean, he's kind of right there in that Jordan Travis like yards boat. Other than these like 400 yarders.
Yeah, I think for me, it's the past 2 weeks. He's looked really,
Yeah.
really good the past 2 weeks. Which I didn't even have him even near my Heisman until like they beat down Syracuse and they beat Miami, and his stats are looking good. They get Tez
Yeah.
Walker. He's finally starting to look like the Drake May of last year, who we
Yeah.
all thought.
I think we ended up having him at like 3 last year at the end of the year.
Yeah, I think he got invited. I'm pretty sure he got invited last year,
Yeah,
or
but I
no,
mean
he he might not have, but
I think we was also really high on him because he was a freshman, and we was like, oh shit. So he kind of just came out of nowhere.
I think if North Carolina keeps winning, his stock's gonna keep rising, especially if they win the ACC, go undefeated, might be as high as man. If nothing happens with Penix.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't see why not. Number 3, I got Caleb. I dropped him down to
Same,
3.
same. That's where I have him.
Absolutely abysmal performance to his standards. I mean, completion percentage wasn't terrible, but those 3 interceptions, he got sacked 6 times. Like look at the pressure, just increasing from like the week to week.
As
We
the
could
competition gets better.
and people are starting to figure the offense out. So we could probably expect this to continue. Uh, rushing. I mean, he's got some rushing touchdowns that kind of inflate his stats a little bit. But a lot of his rushing touchdowns are kind of like within the 5 yards from the end zone range. He's not really like busting runs from midfield to the end zone type thing.
Yeah, I just don't want to make like so last year. I remember after they lost to Utah, we were like, "Oh, Caleb's not going to Heisman."
Oh, I'm
Now
not
he's in a
counting him
position
out.
where he could kind of float under the radar for a while, and then
Yep.
like the last week, like Penix could lose and Gabriel could
Yeah.
lose, and
As long
boom,
as they
there's
don't lose
Caleb.
another game, I don't see why he couldn't still win it. I mean, he's still gonna put up stats. He's still gonna, throw for a lot of yards. He's still gonna put up touchdowns. Uh, I mean, granted, it's not gonna be, probably this every week. Like that's crazy. Like this is like a little bit of an anomaly just because Colorado has no defense. But the Colorado's that with the worst defense of these teams. Like look at Stanford, 281, 3 touchdowns. I mean, that's not nothing too crazy. They did blow him out, so he probably didn't play like an absolute madman like he normally tries to do. So he still has a really good shot at it. I mean, you could even argue him being 2 in the Heisman ranking still, but
Yeah,
it was just a bad game from him. His stats are still really solid.
yeah, his stats are great. I wasn't like too impressed with the things he had to say in the press conference.
I didn't even watch it. What was he talking about?
He was just like, I don't know. Most of the time, the quarterback's like, yeah, they would normally be like, yeah, Notre Dame just played a really good game, and they beat us, and he was just kind of like, they did exactly what we expected them to do, and the throws I normally make, I just didn't make them this time. this hasn't really happened to me before. And I'm like, all right,
I
man, you're taking like
mean,
no responsibility for it, but all right. I mean, I still like
I,
the guy.
I get what he's saying. Like, yeah, he definitely wasn't on. He was missing some of the throws he would normally make. So yeah, I give him a little bit of that, but they definitely were ready for him and they had the game plan set. So there's a good bit of that was on him for sure.
He was just kind of like getting like defensive. Like I've never had a bad game. Like cut me some slack. And I'm like, all right, man. Like
I mean,
you're you
he's
might have a
right
few more after this. Like
for sure. Yeah, he's gonna. There's no way with that the way that they looked.
still,
Um,
best player in college football. Still, I mean,
think he's better than Penix.
yeah, I do.
Yeah,
Like as a player,
like a
like
complete player.
as a complete player, yeah, he's got more going for him. He could run. He could make
Yeah,
really crazy, super weird, like Mahomes like throws that Penix can't make. But as far as the Heisman goes, he's not touching Penix right now.
no. He got two.
Dylan Gabriel.
Yeah, I figured. Dale Gabriel's playing phenomenal this year. Way better than I thought he was gonna play. I'm super happy for him. Super happy for OU fans. It's just cool to see. It's his last year. He's kind of going out with a bang, carrying the team on his back, making the plays he needs to make. He just looks really well rounded. They don't really have a knock to him. Like you can't really like. I don't really know what you could say bad about him.
Yeah,
Uh,
he's the thing that concerns me going forward. This is the only like real game I'm concerned about him. UCF's his old team. He's playing his old team. I don't know if that'll affect his mentality at all.
I don't
I don't
think
expect
so.
it to, but it's something to look out for on Saturday.
I don't think so. I mean, looking at his games, like
Texas was like his. Well, I mean, SMU wasn't great, but he still threw 4 touchdowns. Like Texas was probably like his worst performance of the year, and that's like ironic because that's like his Heisman moment of the
yeah,
year.
and his completion percentage was maybe the only thing you could touch on. Like his QBR is solid, but that takes into effect the sack and that completion percentage. They don't really have anything you can say about him that's bad. I don't
And
not
like going into this year, I didn't think he could rush, and he's starting to prove he's a pretty good runner. Um,
113 in a game against Texas. Like he was running when he needed to. Two touchdowns here, one here. So I mean, he makes like a big run, almost every game, and those are like you get your drive going. Like you could be stalled out, and then he busts off a big run, and okay, drive's still going, first down, let's get going. So he's solid.
if he keeps playing like this, he just needs Penix to drop a game or two, and he'll be the favorite.
Yeah,
If he keeps playing the way he has been so far.
if you guys keep playing like this and you go undefeated and Penix drops a game, it'll be Gabriel's to lose, I'd say,
I
unless they're
just want
really
him
unless they're
to.
really valuing stats this year. And in that case, it would probably have to go to Penix, Caleb, Shador, or Jaden Daniels because them motherfuckers are going crazy.
Yeah, I think if OU goes undefeated, he'll have a good shot at it. OU hasn't had an undefeated regular season since 2000.
It's
Um,
crazy.
so I mean, it'd be crazy to see.
That's so
Yeah, it really
crazy.
just depends.
Considering you guys' like usual Big 12 schedules, like that's just wild to think about. It's always like some random fucking team you guys lose to, or it's like the playoffs you guys get and lose a game because I don't they consider that like into the regular season record.
And I I think that's postseason, but we have not had a undefeated like before the Big 12 championship since
Yeah,
2000.
that's crazy.
Because it's
Actually,
always drop one to Tech or we drop one to K State, which
Texas.
thank God we don't have either one of them on the schedule this year. Um, Texas is going to be the big challenge, but like OU needs to just be careful and not get too cocky
Yeah,
because you could drop any of these games. It's college football; anything could happen.
it's the Big 12.
I just really want him to get his statue on Heisman Row, like
That'd
after
be cool.
all he's went through, because like a lot of y'all schools don't know anything about this, but when you have like 7 Heisman winners, you gotta like have a whole row of statues for him. You
Yeah,
automatically get a statue if you want a Heisman at Oklahoma. I
yeah.
just love to see him have one.
I feel the same for Jordan Travis, like all the shit that he's went through and
Yeah.
being booed by the fans, like come on. And then just to see where he's at now, it would mean a lot to like us and to him. So it'd be cool, but it's
Florida State,
looking
that'd be their fourth Heisman Trophy winner. Florida State's one of those teams that actually, has a lot of Heisman Trophy. Most teams don't have, most teams only have one or zero.
yeah.
Very few have
It's
multiple.
really like the blue blood schools that, kind of are stacking him. Like
Yeah.
I mean, even like the blue bloods like Michigan, like when the fuck was their last Heisman winner?
The Desmond Howard, is he their only
Yeah,
Heisman winner? I think he is.
it might be. And then like Bama's got a couple. Georgia, do they even have one?
Herschel Walker.
Yeah, okay. Uh,
USC has
they got a couple. What Matt?
seven, but technically eight. I mean, technically seven, but they really have eight because Reggie Bush has vacated Heisman. So they do have eight Heisman. So they have the most.
I
Oh,
don't
yeah,
think
Campbell's
Washington
with
has
seven.
any. Penn State, do they have any?
I don't believe they do. Texas, I believe, has one.
Colt McCoy?
No, it was Ricky Williams.
No, he was a fucking baller.
Oregon
Oregon's
has
got
Mariota.
Mariota. Carolina, I don't
Um,
know.
uh,
Notre Dame, not in fucking like 100 years. What's a Rocket? Was that the last one that they got?
I didn't even know they had one.
I
Honestly,
think they got some. LSU, Joe Burrow
I think he's their
before.
only Heisman.
Yeah, probably. And then yeah, it's few and far between. It's usually the bigger schools like that get one. But
Yeah,
obviously,
obviously, yeah.
Penix is number one. He's playing fucking lights out. There ain't much you can even say on Penix that's like you can't argue against him not being one. There's no argument against it. He's handling business. They beat their one team so far that everybody was like, "Oh, you guys ain't played anybody." He came in there, did it. He don't even rush. Like, look at this, -5, -5, 5, like 11. He don't run the ball, so he's not inflating his stats. Like this is all passing for the most part. He might have one down there somewhere in earlier games, but he's averaging, I think, almost 400 yards passing a game. This was, arguably like his worst game other than Cal, but I don't think he played like the entire fourth quarter. So I think we bet on this game, and that was the game the defense showed up and was like, it was like
Yeah, there's
14-0
like a
before
special
he
team score,
before
like
he
pick
seen the
six.
field. So he would have been over 400 there, and then Arizona's sneaky good. So there's just nothing you can say about it. I mean, and he's a lefty. Lefties are notoriously just bad in football. It works in baseball, but lefties don't work in the NFL,
Yeah, he's having
or
like
not in the
this.
NFL, but just in football
Yeah, this is his Heisman to lose. Um,
for sure.
he's overwhelmingly the favorite. Like he's on that level where CJ Stroud was last year. Where we're just
Yeah.
like, we just might as well just fast forward and give him the Heisman. So hopefully he doesn't
Um,
trip up. Well, I hope he does, so Dylan could get it. But
I would say I would worry about their next game, but luckily they got Arizona State the next game, so that and I don't really think they're gonna have like a hangover game like Louisville did. So they should go in and handle business and blow them out.
Arizona
I-
State's a tough out.
If they
But
don't,
they'll whoop them.
if they don't, we can kind of value like that USC performance in a similar fashion. Like, okay, Arizona State's actually not bad, or we could be like, okay, Washington's defense is really kind of not that good. It could go either way, but I don't see them losing this game. They should win by at least 21, at least. And if they
Yeah,
don't,
I
if they
think they
don't,
will.
then I'd be like, okay, maybe we have a little bit to worry about, or it could be like a little bit of a hangover game. But
Yeah,
I
I
don't
think
know.
he's having the best season. Like in my rankings, I think Washington's currently the best team in football right now. Um, so I mean, it's really just it's his to lose. You just can't, you know, fumble on the way. But that's not how college football usually works. We always think like, oh, all these teams are going undefeated. There's gonna be upsets.
There's
There's gonna
it's
be
hard.
all
There's
kinds of
like
stuff going.
typically like maybe two teams that go undefeated going into like conference championships.
Yeah, there's gonna be plenty of upsets before the season's
And then you
over.
get to the conference championship and somebody's got to lose. So you can get to the playoffs and have no undefeated teams. I don't think it's likely this year. I think we're going to have because obviously Michigan and Ohio State play, so one of them is gonna lose.
Florida State's most likely going to have to play North Carolina.
So one of them's gonna lose, and then
OU is going to have to play Texas. So that's not a give
one of
me.
them will drop out. So it's gonna be it's getting this is like really where the season starts getting nice, and we really have a lot of clarity on almost every team. I think there's like obviously Penn State. We don't really have a lot of clarity on them yet. This is the week, and then the week we get clarity on Ohio State too. So this knocks both of that out. So we really know where we're going to stand on both of them teams. Um,
I
North
think the national
Carolina,
champion is in the top 10 right now.
oh, 100%. 100%. North Carolina, we're still kind of waiting for. I mean, they blew Miami's doors off, but I think Miami really self-inflicted a lot this past week. So I'm not super sold on North Carolina still, but yeah, Drake May's on fire. But yeah, I don't see anything else that kind of is jumping out at me as someone that can really compete outside the top 10. If Alabama makes it in, I'm not even gonna watch the games because they're probably just gonna fucking somehow win it.
Yeah, I think Alabama loses this weekend to
I hope
Tennessee.
so. I hope so.
That's just what my gut's telling me. Coach is
I,
on
I
the hot seat. Mario Cristobal, like I said, boom, like
he's locked in. I honestly, it's really kind of for me stayed consistent. Like I still got Ryan Day on there. If they lose this week, he just jumps back up that list. I'm keeping him there because he loses a game. He's there. Uh, we probably take Mike Gundy off,
yeah, he's fine.
and then
I'm gonna add a Deion Sanders. Nah, I'm messing with you.
no,
Nah,
no, no, no.
he's arguably coach of the year.
Um, there was somebody else I wanted to. Who was it? Somebody that lost. I was like, okay, well, maybe not.
Oh,
But
you know who he should be maybe
Jimbo
climbing?
Fisher. He's even climbing higher.
Yeah,
That's
Florida's coach.
Billy Napier.
Yeah. I mean, he's done good recruiting, but like it's just not working out yet. He's probably gonna get another year or two, but it's starting
I
to
think he gets
get a little
one
hot.
more because this is like his second or third year. So he's I argue for like coaches getting 3 years, because like by then like you got your guys coming in out of high school, your recruits, now you got your transfers in the portal coming in, and you getting some cohesion in the team, you kind of hopefully building some momentum and building on previous seasons, but it's like Florida's just going backwards every year. I seen this thing, it was like, you remember that shoe toss game against LSU where
Yeah, yeah.
it's
Where
like
they
it's like
they
ever since
yeah.
then they've been just bad. It's like they're cursed almost. It's kind of funny to see.
Florida is almost becoming Nebraska as far as like fading from relevancy. They might have already
Yeah,
have. Like they haven't
but
been
like
relevant in years.
they just don't accept like these types of years like from their coaches. So he 1 year max left. If they don't decide to just move on from him this year, like let's look at their schedule. See if they even got any wins left. Or did it? I can't type for shit.
Flow rider.
Low rat. Georgia, that's a loss. Arkansas, toss up. LSU loss.
All
Missouri,
losses on the
they
way.
could lose the last 5 games, so they can win with they can not make a bowl game.
Yeah,
When was the last time Florida didn't make a bowl game?
that's not gonna fly in
Yes.
Gainesville.
Somehow they're still second in the East at 5-2.
It's just the way the non-conference
They got
is playing out.
they've gotten lucky. I think like that South Carolina win was very close this past weekend.
Yeah, I think
It ain't looking good. Somehow they beat Tennessee.
then with
Somehow.
OU and Texas coming into the SEC, I'm like, where's Florida in all this? I feel like they're towards the bottom of the conference.
Yeah, they got a. I think if they could hit on like a big QB, like because obviously like a QB can change your entire team. If you can hit on a Cam Newton type thing, obviously that would turn your team around overnight. So that's they're gonna have to hit a home run on the QB somewhere. because the last couple that they've had, like, it ain't worked out for them.
Yeah, this Mertz kid, he's okay, but he's really not doing too great. I think I know they don't do this in college football a lot, but Florida should just retire 15. How are you gonna give Mertz Tim Tebow's number?
Yeah, that 100% should be retired. Florida's they dropped the ball on that one.
That number should never be worn again by a Florida player.
Yeah, I wanted to look at this as like the offensive passing stats just overall. Like it's crazy. Look at these three. Two of my number five spots are the top three. Like that's just wild.
Yeah, it's
We're
Shador
probably
is
gonna
just
have to
having a
start
great year.
mentioning old Carson Beck soon, but
I've been
it's just
holding off on
I have to. I
it.
mean, he's like right there with like JJ McCarthy. Other than his passing yards, like that's the only thing that's really elevated him. Like other than that, like I mean, his QBR is really good, 163.8 compared to like where is yeah Jordan Travis. So he's got like 10 points on him. Where's JJ McCarthy at?
He's pretty far. Yeah,
195.
43. Yeah.
He might have the best QBR. Did he have the
Oh
best
no,
one?
JJ McCarthy does have the best QBR
No,
in the
Jaden
country.
Daniels does. And that's crazy. Like with two losses. But like,
That's
look at fucking 34 sacks. 34.
bro. I feel bad for that guy in Hawaii too. He's having quite a rough year. He's got
But I mean,
26.
he's got 2,000 passing yards and 17 touchdowns though. So I mean, he's having a really good year.
What's up with
But
these guys getting all these sacks but having great years? That just shows a testament to their talent.
yeah, and that's
Carson
why
Beck
like
though, Bowers hurt. I think his numbers are gonna slide. Not a whole lot, but a little bit.
and then look at old fucking Colorado State's quarterback up here. Like after when I was watching him, I was like, yo, this kid's kind of legit, but his interceptions are really high. Really high. 11? That's terrible.
That's really high.
But
There's not a lot of guys double digits right now.
he's slinging the ball though. He's a gunslinger. He's got that Jay Cutler, Brett Favre thing going. There's somebody
Those are kind of my favorite guys though.
there's somebody out there somewhere. Just fucking throw it.
Gunslingers are probably my favorite. Like
Yeah. I think
because
that's why I
it
like
brings so much
Patrick Mahomes
excitement.
so much. Because he's kind of a gunslinger. But I'm starting to like dislike him as time goes on.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot of guys like that anymore. You get one every now and then.
Yeah.
Games coming up.
See what we got on the docket for this week. I don't ever look at the schedule until I do this live, so we kind of just other than Penn State and Ohio State, and then like us playing Duke, like I have no idea really like what's going on, other than if we kind of stumble across anything throughout the episode. But I have a really short memory, so I don't even remember what we talk about the majority of the time.
These are some good games tonight. Liberty's undefeated still.
Yeah, I think Middle Tennessee lost last week. South Alabama,
Alabama.
yeah, I think they've lost. I think they've lost like the last two games, maybe.
Yeah, but overall they're a pretty good team.
UTEP. I was talking about them earlier. I got them mixed up with UTSA. UTEP's solid.
Sam Houston, they haven't won anything, but they've looked really good in their losses, which is really weird.
Got
Like I think they might
undefeated
have won one
James Madison on the road next on Thursday.
Thursday against Marshall.
All right, here we go. We get into the meat. Penn State on the road. Ohio State, 11 a.m. game day. It's gonna be a wild game. I'm praying for the upset.
Yeah, I'm rooting for Penn State. I think Ohio State wins just because it's at Ohio State.
I think if Penn State's quarterback is as good as everybody thinks, we'll see it this game. But I don't know. It could go either way. This is a tough game to call. It's probably one of the more even like matchups that they've had in like a long time.
It's their best
Uh,
chance to lose, and if they do lose,
uh
Ohio State's getting in some trouble because they still got to play Michigan.
yeah. Air Force at Navy should be fun. I'll probably watch a little bit of that if I can. I'm probably gonna be kind of flipping between these three. I might pop in on this game just a little bit to see what's going on. Uh, Boston College at Georgia Tech could be kind of interesting if you're into the ACC games. Like Georgia Tech
Georgia
beat
Tech's good.
Miami, Boston College almost beat us. Should have. I'm still standing by that. Um, Mm, 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 mm. Let's see Washington State get blown out by Oregon,
Watch
which
them pull off the upset.
yeah, but it's possible, man. That quarterback is so good, but they've been so bad the last 2 weeks. And then they were so good before that. So I don't know what the fuck's going on with them, but I could see it. It could be a hangover game for Oregon. So, fingers crossed. I would love to see them lose again. Tennessee at Alabama. So it's like the second. So you got two back-to-back big games on the schedule.
Yeah, I think
Um,
Tennessee wins. I really do.
I really hope so. South Carolina, Missouri will be really interesting. We can really kind of see what Missouri's about still, like, if they can keep their momentum going.
Um,
Pitt at Wake Forest could be interesting. Wake Forest has been solid, and
played
then
Clemson close.
yeah. Oh, Oklahoma State, West Virginia.
That's gonna be a fight for third in the Big 12.
Oklahoma State should win that game if they play like they have been. They probably won't. I don't know. Who fucking knows?
I'm debating on, I'm throwing a bet down on Oklahoma State, but they'd be the team to ruin whatever I got going on.
I'm starting to avoid the risky like 50-50. Like I remember like Texas Tech Baylor. I was like, I don't fucking even know which way to go on this. So I'm just trying to like avoid those games. Like this, I'll probably throw one on the Penn State upset because like I think it could really happen. But I'll probably end up doing like maybe two. So like having that one upset in the parlay and then like one like hopefully guaranteed. I just need a win, man. Um Ole Miss Auburn would be interesting, you would think. TCU at K State. K State should win that game. I don't know what the fuck's happened to TCU this week, or not this week, this year. They've kind of just fallen off.
Yeah, I think that might actually be a pretty good game.
Yeah. We
Uh,
got two interesting late night games. Michigan at Michigan State rivalry game. We had that tunnel incident last year.
yeah, the fight.
So
Yeah,
had Michigan State's upset Michigan before. It's anything's possible in that game, but
Michigan State has nothing to lose. They could throw the whole
they
playbook out
don't.
at them. This is probably all they have left this season to play for is this game.
They've had a weird, rough year, so I would like to see Michigan State win, but it's probably not going to happen. Got Florida State at Duke. Should be a dominant performance on our part. Should, I would like to emphasize, but who fucking knows with us?
What a day of college football! You got a
Utah
great
at
game
USC.
11, 2:30, and 6.
Clemson at Miami. Like, imagine like if this was like a normal year, like Clemson would be ranked high and Miami would be, semi decent. So like this would be like a primetime game, potential of like a game day scenario. But and look at them now. So this is like two almost bottom feeder teams. It seems like,
Yeah,
but they got talent, so it should be fun to watch. I'm definitely watching both of these games. And then UCLA at Stanford at 9:30 to a little nightcap, which fucking
I'll
Christ.
probably watch it just
I'll
because
watch a little bit of it because I typically stay up till like midnight so that to catch like my baby feeding.
I always say I'm not gonna watch the 9:30 game, and then I always end up awake
It
at
it
2 in the morning.
turns into a fucking barn burner, and you're like, fuck, I can't turn it off now. I'm already invested. So I think if it's close going into like halftime, I might try to stay up. But and then if you want to watch the Heisman front runner potentially dominate, see what he's about, tune into Washington at 9:30. You got nothing else to do, but imagine
This
like
is
that.
setting up. Yeah,
It's a good weekend. I mean, it's not like a jam packed, but it's as packed as like you can normally get.
I think this might be set up to be like the best weekend because normally you have like one big
Yeah.
game. You got three like
Yeah, there's
playoff
more.
altering games in
Yeah,
this,
and then there's some other like big matchups that like teams aren't ranked for.
like Penn State, Ohio State. This might be like game of the year right now. I don't know if we've seen two teams like both this high play.
Washington, Oregon,
Yeah, I guess Washington, Oregon.
Texas, OU.
Yeah, OU was a little bit further back. They're like 12 or something. Then you
That's
had
those are the only two that would compete.
Notre Dame, Ohio State was like at the
Mm,
time they were both
yeah,
ranked pretty high.
I'm still fucking riding that Colorado State game. I'll ride that to the end of the year. That game was that felt like a movie to me.
That was the funnest game to watch, I think.
Yeah, I love
because
that
like
game.
it wasn't my team, so like I had
Yeah.
nothing to lose. Because when it's a good game and it's your team, it's not fun in the moment
So
really
it's
because you're just
none.
like,
It's
oh.
never fun. If it's a close game, it's not fun at all. It's
But when
not.
it's
If
two teams, you don't really have that big of a deal who loses. It's
Yeah,
fun.
or if it's like one of these teams and like you want one of them to lose and they're not losing, and you're just like stressed out because this fucking team you don't care about's not beating this team. You're like, fuck, man, please do something, and you're just like, so that's probably how I'm gonna be if Penn State starts shitting the bed. I'm just like stressed out because they're not playing good.
Yeah, I mean it's setting up to be a good weekend. We'll see how it all shakes out.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm excited.
I feel like at this point we know who the good teams are, and it's just can they not screw up before the season ends, and a handful of them will.
100%. Somebody's gonna drop the ball somewhere. Uh, Probably more than one person, or not one person, one team. It's gonna then the field's starting to get more narrow. We're really starting to lock in like our guaranteed top six. And some of those top six teams do play each other, so it's starting to narrow to like one loss teams, and it's we're starting to get into that territory of like does a one loss like SEC champion get over like an undefeated like ACC champion or something like that because SEC is valued higher than the ACC type thing. So this shit's so annoying.
I just think there'll be enough losses to where I don't think that's gonna be a scenario at the end of the year.
It's always
Um,
a scenario. It's
it's
like
usually
every
like the
that
worst
it's
of
like that
the top
fourth
five.
spot. It really gets iffy, and I don't see this year being an exception. And that fourth spot's going to be really like I could see there being a couple one last teams, and it's going to be really tight on who's going to get it.
Yeah, Alabama if they keep winning, that's gonna be Texas. If they keep winning, that's gonna be a
Yeah,
one loss team to look for. Um,
because then like if Texas beats you guys in the Big 12 championship, then you got like okay they both they both beat each other, but then like one of them has the Big 12 championship, so like I mean you probably would have to lean towards them,
yeah, it would go to Texas
unfortunately.
unless Bama just downhill slides and that win doesn't look as good.
Yeah, it's weird. It's college football is so fucking annoying sometimes. I'm so ready for the 12 team playoff because like you can lose one and you'd be fine as long as you win out.
At that point, it'll be like, should we
Two
let
lost
a
teams.
three loss Alabama in over a
This
two
undefeated
loss?
fucking James Madison.
Yeah.
You're like, yeah, obviously, fuck Alabama, man. This team's undefeated. Give them a shot. Like
That's what I'm
anything
looking
can.
forward to. I think they should make it a guarantee that like the best group of five team just gets in because there's 12 spots. Like just give the best group of five
I
team
think
a
that's the
shot.
way they're going. It's like if you win your conference, no matter what your record, I think it's you're guaranteed.
Yeah, it was
Um,
initially Power Five, but now it's only Power Four because no
Pac-12's
Pac-12.
losing, so as long as you win your conference, you're automatically in, which is cool. So you don't gotta like go undefeated or anything like that. And then you're kind of looking at the second, potentially third best teams in your conference, valued up against these undefeated like Mountain West teams potentially or something like that. But I think like I can't remember what the other. See if we can look it up if they've settled on it yet.
Expected to keep format. What you mean? Let's see what they're saying there.
Hey yo, what the dog doing? Hello?
Expected to keep format.
Okay,
A lot of people are on that website right now.
I guess. So Bulls actually don't matter. Start date.
Let's see. Days, that doesn't really matter. First round. I'm looking forward to those, home playoff games. That'll be really interesting. How will it work? That'll probably explain it.
Top four conference champions, followed by some combination of the top six at large bids and two highest ranked remaining conference champions.
Ooh, that makes things interesting. So the power four automatically gets in, but so like the highest ranking Mountain West and like the highest ranking Sun Belt or
Sun Belt,
whatever like
whatever.
gets in. That I like that. I like that.
Yeah. So that's 6 guaranteed spots. And then the other 6 are kind of just, up for
At
bid if
large.
kind of like what your rank is. So I think as long as like, so that would be, so like say like this 6 would be locked, whatever, the two, like whatever fucking team. So then you got like a combination of whoever's sitting like right in heat. It's probably going to be kind of like the combination of like whatever the fuck's sitting here.
And then like
Just
James Madison would get in because they're the highest ranked group of five.
and then like I'm so ready for like a big upset on like James Madison coming in because like I'm assuming they're doing buys of some sort. So like 1 and 2 probably gets a buy.
And they would James Madison, if they're a conference champion, they would most likely get the home field advantage.
Yeah, so they'd come in playing like maybe Alabama or something. Alabama on the road, like pissed off that they're fucking playing James Madison, and then they come out and just smack him in the mouth. Like that'd be so cool.
It adds like the almost like college basketball element
Anything can
to it.
happen, but football is a little more different. It's you can almost really kind of you know who's almost going to win in some scenarios compared to like basketball. Like, you could be a good team, but it's still like there's still only 5 of you out there. Compared
Basketball
to
is a different sport too, because like you could just have a
anybody,
bad game shooting. You know what I mean?
yeah, or you get lucky and just hit a fucking random basket, and that's it. That's the game. It's so like basketball's so all over the place. And then like basketball, like the rosters usually aren't like, yeah, you can have a stacked lineup, but you could be playing this fucking John Baptist team, and them boys be shooters. And if you ain't built to play a 3-point shooting team, like you can get fucked on.
Yeah, and there's like more depth and stuff. I mean, we'll see. I think the 12 team playoff we're gonna see. I hope the first year there's just a big upset,
Yeah,
like it's Bama or Oregon or somebody, and they just
to
get
like
beat.
to make it worth it and like prove like okay, this 12 team playoff thing's like a good idea. Like I don't see them going back now that they moved it to 12. I think it stays at 12, and if anything, it's gonna go to more teams. We're gonna start pushing that. Not 64. That's way too many, but I could see us start like pushing like 24, maybe something like that.
I feel like that's where you'd have to
16.
draw the line, within the top 25 or something.
Yeah,
You'd have to do 24 to make it even.
they could do. Yeah, you could do 25 like that because it's an odd number. So then you gotta like, and then you got buys. I could see 16 like at most. At
Yeah,
most, because
that's
like
where I thought they were gonna go to initially.
because I can see the 12 start going, and then you're gonna see some team like some big teams potentially sitting in that range, missing out, a couple years, and then like some complaining starts happening, and then they're like, oh, why shouldn't we move to 16? It's just more games, more
More
fun,
money, yeah,
more money.
like
So I can't see him going past 16 though. That doesn't really make sense. That's like almost too many games.
I hope they rock with the 12 for about the same amount of length they rocked with the 4 at least. Just
Yeah.
give us a good
I,
experience with it.
I don't see him going back. There's no way. If anything, they go back to the BCS. That's it. There's no way they go. There's no way
Nah,
they go back to 4.
nah, it's never gonna go. It's gonna be 12 or more going forward. It'll never be less.
I
Or
can't see it.
I saw somebody like on a video like we need to go back to the BCS. I was like, that was the BCS was terrible,
Oh, but I,
absolutely
I think I seen
terrible.
this stat. It was like if they apply like the BCS format to like every year that the playoff has been, it would be like the same.
Same result, pretty much.
Yeah, which is like kind of crazy to think about, but like it it's like it's a different thing. It's like it's the chance. Like it's more teams having a more chance to compete for the championship. Like, yeah, granted the same teams would probably win regardless, but it's more football for the fans. It's more fun. There's these matchups that never happen. These teams that never play each other ever. Like you're gonna get matchups of teams that have never played each other in the history of the schools, which is so cool.
Yeah, I just like yeah, like you said, the chance of it.
Yeah,
If it ends up being the same result,
so be it.
fair enough. But eventually there's gonna be a time where
And
it's not the
then
same
you
fault.
got to factor in injuries. Like, that's the first game of the playoff. Your quarterback could go down. You're fucked. You're going down. You're not going to win the whole thing. There's very unlikely,
Well, then you got to factor in like they're gonna have home games, which
which
at a
is so
neutral
cool.
at a neutral site, it's like yeah, the better team's always gonna win. But when it's at a home field and
But
like Alabama's playing some random team that just has a really crazy
yeah,
home environment,
there's some schools that go wild. No, I'm here for it. I'm so ready. So ready. I'm so glad it's next year. So last year,
last year. I wish it was this year, just with what's going on, towards the bottom of the
yeah,
top 25.
at this point, it's looking like it could be cool, but it's all gonna shake out to be, the top four will be the top four more than likely. Five or six might miss out, but I think other than the top six, like the teams that are gonna make it are gonna deserve to make it. I don't see anybody that deserves to make it and miss out. At least I would hope not.
Yeah, most likely not, unless like there's more undefeated teams at the end than we thought, which I just don't really see happening.
I mean, there's still a good bit, like the whole top seven still undefeated, but it's about to drop to at least six this week, at least,
At least, yeah.
which is kind of we're narrowing in the field. You got anything else you want to touch on?
No, I think we're kind of at the end point of the episode.
Yeah,
Um,
I got nothing else. No hot takes in the back pocket
yeah, so
this
let
week.
us know what you thought of our hot takes. Let us know what your top four is. Top five Heisman. Let us know. Let us know what you disagree with us on, and we'll catch y'all next week.
Peace. Roll Tide.
Roll Tide.